Two, two, two. Hey, hey. Yep. When you start your speech, I'll just roll on. Or if you want to just keep it off.
Clap twice if you can hear my voice. Clap twice if you can hear my voice. Awesome, guys. Welcome back from lunch. That was an awesome business card exchange ceremony, wasn't it? We are moving on to bigger things. We want to remind you that we will be back in Dubai in December 2024 and back here in the States in 2025. Remember that many experts have already registered their interest as exhibitors and speakers. Secure your spot by visiting our booths or reaching out to Jatin or Shabit. Now, brace yourselves for our next keynote session called Beyond Borders Strategies for Success. Get ready to embark on a thrilling journey of global market domination where our speaker will unlock the secrets to conquering cultural barriers and seizing international opportunities like never before, active and powerful. Without further delay, give a warm welcome to founder and CEO, digital architect of Bezalel Digita. Ladies and gentlemen, Carlos E. Vargas to the stage.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Well, how many of you, this is your first conference after COVID? Let's say after COVID. Okay? Thank you for coming. Who's this the first conference here in Vegas? Woohoo! So, my name is Carlos Vargas. I am here with my beautiful wife. And one of the things that I find it very interesting is that my background started completely different than every other marketer or person in the marketing world. I started in the technology field, literally working all the problems for your computer, your phone, wiring cables. I don't know if anybody in the audience, any techies? No, I'm the only one? Oh, we have one. Perfect. And the reason that I share that is because probably your journey may be different than anybody else. But what we're going to be sharing, and I'm going to share a couple of strategies that I work with a lot of companies, is that to connect this year, you need to be personal. And I know that a lot of you may want to take some notes, and I am one of those that take pictures on every slide that come. So I say, hey, why make it difficult? So if you want, you can scan the QR code and you can actually get the slides so you don't have to worry and we can actually have a chat. I don't want to have to just talk this way. I want to have a conversation. My first degree at 17, can anybody guess? No? Business? No. Pastorate, seminary. So I like feedback. So please, let's have a conversation. Let's have fun. Because here's what happened. Uh, I have two kids, and those two kids are my joy and my wife's joy. And we actually have a little doggy that she actually drives us crazy sometimes, and other times she gives us a lot of love. And as you can see, we love to interact and connect with others. My son, Lucas, actually, anytime that he posted a video, it's probably around 120,000 views on TikTok or anything. And I started figuring out like what is what is making it different. Why when we share something or we interact in some way, it actually start resonating with people. Similar, I don't know why my lovely wife love plane videos. So she take videos of planes and she actually posts them, and they start going up. I'm like, I don't know why. But again, I started thinking why. And the reason is because we started looking at the holistically and how we connect with people. And the topic for today is how we can be very personal. In 2024, what everybody and all the companies that I work with is how can we be more personal? You can have a different brand like we have. You can connect with them through a podcast. You can connect through videos. But the key is that you need to bring who you are. That little house in there bring back a lot of memories for me. Because at the year 1983, I got my first computer in Puerto Rico. If probably you haven't been to Puerto Rico, you know that we don't speak any English. We speak Spanish. And computers were in English. So I had to start learning how to do everything. And then I started looking at like when I connect with people, it make a difference. So can I do that through a computer? So at that time there was no social media. There was a modem. I don't know if you guys could remember the noise that a modem. Who can remember the noise that a modem makes? So we have some old G's in here that actually love that noise. I find that. Yeah, I got it. I got you. So I mentioned this because it's extremely important that when we connect with our audience, that could be our personal brand or could be our business brand, we actually connect with other people. We go one to one. So what we're going to be talking about, as they mentioned, the topic for today is how can we have success with our brand and with everything that we do in 2024. And I have had the privilege to work with a lot of companies across the years, travel around the world, and learn and sit down and listen to what is working for other folks. And I bring out my own definition of success, and I just want to share the first portion of it. You have it on the slides. Is that I have to do everything that is in my power to be able to effectively and ethically connect and lead my customers to actually implement a solution that can be beneficial for their company. If I do that in my marketing, if I ethically help them to understand that I know that the solution that I have can help them, I have a moral obligation to help them and do that. And I do that from my core being. Sometimes my wife says, like, you're spending too much time. And I'm like, but it's who I am. And when our brands connect with the audience in that way, it make a big difference. And that's what we're gonna see that for this year, what everybody's looking is how can I be extremely personal to meet the needs of that audience. That's what it's called hyper personalization. And it's the idea that I'm gonna know exactly what that person wants and needs, and I'm gonna look for a way to bring it to them. Doesn't matter if I am not the creator, Doesn't matter if it's my product, but if I have the capability to find out, I will do it. And the way that we're going to do that is that we're going to share a couple of strategies. And I had to sit down and think, I have 30 minutes. And for a lot of folks, they might think that 30 minutes is a long time to be up here. But then when you start thinking, 30 minutes is a very short amount of time for a lot of content. It's very difficult. So there may be more than this. But the first one is that I need to figure out a way that I can directly talk to my audience. And I need to do it in a way that is personal to them. Let me ask you a question. Can somebody tell me, how do you like to be addressed? How do you, when somebody have a conversation with you, how do you like to be called? Somebody. First name, okay? Okay? Well, name, correct? Why is that? Because we love our name. But personalization is not just name, because that is very simple technique that I can take name, put here, hi name. That's it. But when I can start learning the patterns and behaviors that someone will take action on, then I can start serving them in a better way. But when I work with different companies, they tell me, oh, we're already doing that. And it looks like something like this. They have a bunch of roads to a bunch of places and never to a direct conversation. That is what we need to have with our audience. We need to start having a one-to-one conversation with someone. And they need to feel that I am their best friend or that I understand their problem. Because if not, I'm just going to be very generic. You probably have Instagram. How many? TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, ICQ. Did I date it myself? What happened on a lot of those platforms? There's content that is very generic, and what do we do with the content that is generic? We just scroll it. We just let it go. We want to be able to, everything that we do, from our videos, our call to actions, connections, need to be very personal. And if you scan the QR code that was at the beginning, you saw that there is a very simple call to action. Do you want the slides? Yes. Here it is, what I promise. You see, doesn't have to be complicated. And for years, we have depended on platforms that give us data. And we're going to be talking about that tomorrow morning. But data is actually now going away because of a lot of privacy challenges. So, a great example, I'm not sure if the women in the room are aware of this, but how many know what the Nuset is? One hand? Well, I have a great secret for all you women. This is one of the best connections places for women so you can get everything new that is happening. From beauty, from makeup, from anything. And you know what they do? They just send one email. But that email list, can anybody guess how much it's worth because they have personalized it so much? Any guesses? No guesses? How many millions? Last year, it was valuated at $220 million. They don't give that detail, but here's what they have done. They have learned to personalize the content and delivery for what the audience wants. If a woman don't want to read about something within the same email, that content do not appear versus someone that actually want to read it. And it comes directly to the inbox. So there is no other distraction. And because they have specials and they have additional information, they are looking for it. That is the difference than a lot of the other techniques that because now they have cracked that they want to be direct, they actually get a huge open rate for their subscribers. And it's completely free. Number two is that you actually have to learn to control the message distribution. Like as mentioned, we have been dependent on Google or Facebook, on a lot of these other ad platforms. And if you probably are aware of, this ad costs keep what? Going down? What is happening? Going up, then we're losing tracking information. We cannot go personal to them because they don't want us to be offensive if you use a word or something else. But the interesting detail is that, again, I don't know, you can be in different industries, but there's some industries that can't leverage ad platforms. But if you start controlling your traffic, where you present your information, you can actually connect anywhere. And we have seen industry that we have worked with that actually present their ads directly to the user's inbox or phone without any issues. Number three that I have found across a lot of companies is that they tell me, oh, we are very consistent. Who posted every day in here for their customers? Once a week? Once a month? 2 times a day? 3? Engagement is not posting. A post can bring you engagement, but you need to be consistent. To give you an example, podcast is a very simple way to communicate your message. Do we agree? Okay. How often should you podcast? Let's say once a week, once a month. It doesn't matter. What matters is that your audience knows when you're going to come. If you're going to do a live, that it goes live or simulated live. To give an example, tomorrow I'm going to be here, but my shows are going to come out this week already pre-recorded because I couldn't depend that I'm going to be on stage or not or where I'm going to be. So they need to be recorded to go out. But they already know that Tuesday at 3 o'clock p.m., my show goes live on every platform in the planet, even Rumble. If you don't know what Rumble is, check it. Another platform that you don't have the problems with Facebook or YouTube ads, and you get the money from the revenue. But creating the expectation, if you think the hyper personalization theme is that you need to create the expectation so your customer is coming to you, not you going to them. That is a big change that when we do that, the customer is like, oh wait, yeah, I need what you have, not the other way around that I am running after. Hey, can I get you what I have? Can I get you? No, no. I need to get them so I can work smart, not what? Hard, correct? And a lot of these concepts have been there for years. I remember probably 2010, there were ways that you can create a segment that you understand who you're dealing with. But the key is that we want to be able to understand our customers and that we can serve them in a better way. When I segment who I work with, I can now apply analytics. I can now provide them different solutions that they don't have. But if I don't create this correct segmentation, I cannot I cannot go to the next step. There is a I cannot target because there are going to be times that I need to say I need that customer. I need everyone, and I was going to do it, and I said I don't want to get in trouble. I was going to put everyone that is within 1 mile, that is staying within 1 mile of the Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, and put an ad. I don't know if you have seen that, but I know somebody that is a master at doing that. If you don't know who Grant Cardone is, look and study what he does. He actually developed the coolest techniques, and he has nothing to do with marketing. He's a real estate guy. But he learned how to create a segment within his team, work on these customers, and this other team now go and target them for something else. Have you ever been in the Growth Con? So one of the largest entrepreneur conferences in the world. They did it last year before COVID hit. We had the opportunity to be here. And there are about 20,000 people in the room working. And at the end of the conference, he wanted to target not the people that were in the room. He wanted to target everybody else that was not in the room. And you're going to say, wait. How he's going to target people that he doesn't have access? He took all the t-shirt inventory and he liquidated for $5. And he said, I want you. Then you think that you didn't have the money to have a shirt. Now, you have 20,000 people around the world taking pictures, taking selfies, talking about him. Now he had a new target market. Now I can go, did you see the people that have my shirt? And a bunch of people, yes, come to my webinar. Do you see my people? I have something new for you. So you see, he segmented, then he targeted. Then, I want to ask a question. I think that we can play a little bit. So, favorite food, American food. I'm the only one? Burgers, American, yeah. Okay, I consider that Italian. Probably we're gonna get into a debate if pizza is Italian or Chinese or something else. Let's say a good Indian dish. Anybody? Curry? What's that? I love it. Oh, we got a winner. Okay. What am I doing? I'm trying to, one, read the room, get engagement. You see? Simple question. But at the same time, I cannot save it here because I'm doing a presentation. But you have systems that can store that information. And now I can write an email and say, you know, my wife, and actually was true last week, she did an awesome spaghetti with meat recipe. Do you think that I'm gonna catch people that love Italian food when I open an email with that story? Now I actually have information that I can use to actually hyper personalize that and then drive engagement. The reason, there you go. So that will get me to the next step. That is, I need to be able to analyze my data. Folks, you have a lot of data. I don't need you to go and buy or hire a data scientist. Does anybody know what ChatGPT is? Correct? All you have to do, you drop the numbers and tell it, tell me what this means. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But this was one of my customers. She was having problems with engagement in one of her platforms. And she's like, I'm getting about 400 leads a month. And I'm like, good, so I'm doing my job. And she's like, but I don't know what to do with them. I was like, what have I been telling you? You need to engage them. You need to actually start offering them an additional service based on what you're offering. And she said, I don't know what to do. I said, okay, what would you like to learn about them so you can engage better with them? She actually is a world renowned health coach, but she works specifically with, interestingly, 60 years and above. Because everybody's focusing on the younger people that want to be buff, they want to have all the squares. I prefer to just go to the doctor and just spray paint it or something like that. But she's working with people that older, they may have a couple of sicknesses, and she actually helped them lose weight. So I said, you want to know how to engage them better. Why you don't ask them? Just ask them so we can analyze the data. And she said, what can I ask them? I'm like, tell them when they're in Facebook, if that's the platform that they're using. A simple question like I asked, what is your favorite food? People love quizzes. People love interaction. Why? Because we're alone on our room, on our phone, not doing anything else with anybody else. So when we actually bring this data, we can connect and do a better job at connecting with them. So this will help you build your audience. And when you build your audience, you want to actually build a tribe of raving fans. And I think that the next question probably will include all of us, and you're going to see the example. So, what is football? Okay, who is from the US? There we go. So, a lot of people talk about football for that. My wife, she knows football for that. She's from Brazil. I'm from Puerto Rico. I don't care about any of it. We don't have football at all. We have baseball. But here in the States is the little ball. But if you want to catch an audience and you want to place an ad, which one is cheaper to advertise in the World Cup or the Super Bowl? The World Cup or Super Bowl? Okay, so that's true. It's 1.18 for 30 seconds. But if I'm trying to reach people that like football, American football, or that they are from the US, I may not get the correct audience. So I may waste my money by going that. I may have to pay more. So one of the reasons that I want to share with you so you can also understand with your audience and with your customers is that sometimes it's not how cheap it can be produced or delivered, but if it's to the right audience so you can actually get them correctly. Privacy laws are changing, so we need to be aware of that. So we need to, when we hyper personalize, that's why we're having so many trouble with the ad platforms, because now they cannot share all that information. But I need to then, with everything that I do, try to integrate everything that I'm talking about so I can make it easier. So here's what I want to share with you. There's a 7-11-4 rule. I need to have at least 7 hours of interaction with a customer before they can actually make a decision. I did not invent this. I wish that I could, but this is studies coming from Google, seeing in their platform what is happening. So when we deliver content, podcasts, engagement, posts, groups, communities, anything that we do, you want to check that rule. And you have it on the slide so you can go through it. And at the end of the day, we actually want to also, one of the last things for engagement, we want to create content, solutions, offers that can be found anywhere else so our audience or your customer's audience can find it and it's only available to them. They cannot find it anywhere else. There's content that I have that is not available outside. I post every day, I post every week, there's videos, there's topics, there's blog posts, there's everything. But there's content that is not out. It's my VIP content for my audience, for the specific customers. And I cannot miss GenAI because it's one of the tools that will help you define and strategize. Because I don't know if you have more than 24 hours a day that you don't sleep, but before I used to spend hours trying to craft the good email or the good copy or understanding the customer. But now I can actually go and leverage these tools to help me address the gaps that I have as a professional, as an architect, as a marketer, and then be able to build it so I can deliver great results. So, how can I put all these things together? You probably want to look into how to create a newsletter. And I'm not talking about newsletter, plain email. No, I'm talking about curating content that your audience or your customer can deliver to their customers. This is an example of one of our new newsletters that the whole idea is how we can serve them and make it easier so they can consume it. As soon as they click, you know they like the content. As soon as they engage with it, you have a survey information about them. Now I know who likes makeup versus who likes guns versus who likes computers versus who likes to travel and all that, my friend. The idea is that we are leading our customers to the correct solution. And my goal for today is that I can help you. So if you scan that QR code, you can get a free copy of our latest book, The Tech Leadership Code, 12 qualities for visionary leaders. We are in the business of leading our customers to the correct solution. I want to open it now so we can have some conversation, questions before we finish. Any questions? Yes.
Going. Hello. Testing. Okay.
Yeah.
So you touched on it a little bit before, but I'm curious as to your thoughts on how to incorporate personalization into maybe some of the upper funnel marketing and more awareness, maybe traditional out of home um, tactics, and whether or not you think that's necessary if once we do get them further down the funnel, that's where we start the personalization.
Okay. So tactics to be able to personalize top of the funnel so you can start learning more as it goes down. One of the mistakes that I've seen that people do is that when they try to get a customer to start serving them, and I'm talking about customer, anyone that want to consume whatever you create or what your customer create, they want to know everything they want. And that is too much. Think about it this way. I remember that I was a little crazy when I proposed to my wife because we have probably like a month of dating. And I said, hey, you're out of the market. I love you. Let's see if this works. And if it doesn't work, and literally, I took one of the rings that I had and I gave it to her. It's like, here it is. I'm serious. Okay. But that's not the way that we probably interact with customers. We need to start slowly. Hey, I have something for you. Let's say, what is your business and what do you deliver? Cirque Soleil? Okay. We should talk because I was working with you guys in Canada. But to give you an example of that, let's say that you have a show, and that show is for here in Vegas. So people need to want to come to Vegas versus I want to go to Orlando, that there's also a Cirque du Soleil. But the first thing is like, do you like shows versus do you like football? You see, you start capturing different information. And the other thing that you can do is that you can start advertising in other people's platforms so you can see their engagement to see if they get the first tick. What will that be? Let's say, do you like to learn more about how to have a romantic holiday or a romantic weekend in Vegas? Does that have to do exactly with Cirque du Soleil? No. But what happened? A guy alone not gonna come to Cirque Soleil? And the guys that are here, tell me, are we gonna come alone to Cirque Soleil and to Vegas? I don't think so. We're gonna come to a football game, but we're not gonna come to Cirque Soleil. But if the wife actually say, you know, we should take a time to go to see this. So you see, you start learning the profile of what they are and leveraging your platforms. In your case, are you offering anything that they can consume before they actually come to the show? Like, is there some clips from previous shows that they can go? So in that way, you start little by little bringing them to try to create that profile. And now you own the data. That's the key. So thank you very much. I'm going to be here. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Carlos, you feel free to stay on stage if you like, because Carlos is going to talk against. You're not done with him. I'm already smarter for just coming in here today. I don't know about the rest of you. So we're going to move on. Carlos, you can stay up here, and we're going to call somebody else up. Our next subject, we're going to ignite you into the creativity in our next fireside chat. Move over AI. It's time for creative automation. How does a world where Chat GPT isn't just a tool, but a teammate? Curious? Then you're in the right place. We're about to dive deep into how AI and creative automation are joining forces to spark a revolution in the marketing industry. You've already met Carlos. Let's bring up one more guest speaker today. Give a round of applause for Masroor Huck. Are you in the house?
I am.
Hi.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. Oh,
Hello,
no,
my friend.
they got me ready for
Can you hear me?
journey now.
Good.
Cool.
How are you?
Lovely. Good talk.
You like it?
I do.
It was all made with AI. No,
Yeah,
it was not
right.
made with AI. We actually spent a lot of time, but tell me a little bit about you.
I mean, so he talked about how to use ChatGPT and how we do it in creative automation. But now I'm kind of curious, how are you using it in all the different ways of talking about marketing, right? And so for me, she had mentioned the top of the funnel, but now if you're doing with so many businesses, so many products, so many things, it's kind of been interesting to use such a powerful tool in how we speed up a lot of this process, right? So I'm in everything from marketing to private equity and business and real estate, and it's been kind of fun journey to see the last 2 years and how AI and Gen AI and all of this stuff kind of comes into play with the conversations that we need to have on a regular basis, especially the conversations on how we need to grow our businesses, right?
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that. For the longest time, I had tech skills, but I was not a programmer.
Hmm.
So I actually used to open a document and just type, I need to do this. And then I went to the next step. I know that I need to, let's say, connect to the database. I need to get the information from Facebook. I need to, whatever it was. And now,
You were ahead of your time because that's the new programming language,
yeah,
right?
that English, the new program language. So now I actually can go and say, help me create this. Like I actually have a bot that when you ask questions, ChatGPT, at the end it tell you, do you want to connect and get more information? And if you say yes, it asks you, okay, what is your email? And then what is your phone? And then it send it out to the platform, and then we actually can start interacting with the person.
Hmm.
So I think the topic is for automation, and I think that the conversation that we need to now have is what do I wish I could do? Because now is the time to make it a reality. And for us that are in the marketing world, what do I wish that I could do? I wish that I can analyze this data that Facebook is giving me. I wish that I could look at the analytics that Google Analytics is giving me, or I wish that I could do X, Y, Z. Now I can actually do that and start interacting like I have
Hmm.
someone next to me. Hey, I don't understand this. And it's gonna go and tell you what it is.
Well, in creative automation too, it's not just about that one bot, because think about all the different roles that we have to play and all the different tasks and scenarios that we have to consider. So then creative automation ends up being a bunch of agents and a
Yep.
bunch of bots that do very specific roles that work hand in hand to kind of pass the baton to create the best outcome and the best user flow and user journey, right?
Correct. And I think that just to define it a little bit, because again, to try to level set the room, um, the automation bot could be a task that is happening. So it constantly just do, let's say that I want to write a headline for an email and I want it to be sounding like our company. I can create the list of the automation so it will do it for me. Give me a new headline that will leverage our company branding instead of me typing it all the time. It will do that. So that is what an automation,
Well,
single automation bot.
and I'm kind of curious, how many solo founders are there in the room? Okay.
Okay.
How many hats do you guys usually have to wear on a regular day?
All of them.
35, 50-ish, right? And then so now using ChatGPT, how many roles are you able to fulfill through actual like dedicated like efficient utility of ChatGPT? Are you able to get through your day a little bit faster, better, especially in different roles of the different hats that you have to wear? Have you automated it so they just do it for you together without you? Is that fair? Is that a fair assessment? If you're already doing it and you're doing it in segmentation, they can just do it themselves without you, right? So that's kind of like the automation part and the creative automation part of kind of syncing all of that stuff together, um, and having those conversations where it might not necessarily require you.
You know, it's interesting because I think that one of the challenges we're working with an international institute to train people in AI because I saw the need similar to I think that the speaker on the previous session was talking about that the internet in the 1990s revolutionized
Hmm.
everything. AI is doing something similar. And one of the challenges that we're seeing is that people think AI gonna take my role or my job.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I've seen is that AI is just the simplest way that I can describe it is like Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word has the potential to write the best business plan that will create the next Apple $1 trillion company. But it needed someone
Hmm.
with some intelligence to actually leverage Microsoft Word to write down all the information so it can actually be read by someone. So AI is very similar. It has a lot of potential. It's not the Terminator.
I agree. And I think now moving forward, we'll see a lot more solo founders and one man teams that can accomplish a lot of what these big name brands are doing because of that as well.
And that is when you mentioned automation, I started remembering. Um, I actually, like you said, I was looking for ways to automate what we do in our company,
Hmm.
and ChatGPT alleviated a lot. But then I'm like, how can I automate a lot of that? So we start working with software to automate a lot of that work. And I think the key is each of us need to first define the processes
I agree.
that we need to do on our day-to-day basis before we can go into buying tools, buying into, oh, this bot gonna automate and make your life easier. Because what I've seen is that a lot of people buy all these tools and they're launching tools. If you want to have a quick glance, there's a website called futuretools.io. I think that every day you get between 10 and 100
New
new tools.
AI tools.
So it's so big the market right now
Hmm.
because again, people had challenges, they found a way to solve them.
Hmm.
But I don't need 10,000 tools.
It's true.
I need probably 20 tools. But I need to know why do I need those tools? Like last week, I tested a brand new tool that they actually take your videos they chop them, they have AI on it, they create the clips, they put the music, and they put everything. In paper, it sounded really great. That's okay. Let me buy it. I bought the whole thing, agency level. Let me try it. I'm gonna try it with some of my customers. All of a sudden, the tool works very good, but doesn't focus in the subject.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
all of a sudden, the tool didn't meet my need.
Mm-hmm.
So you
It's
see,
not that personalization. It's not that hyper
correct.
focal. Yeah.
So that's what's gonna happen. There's gonna be a lot of different ways to automate what we do, but we need to know what is what we need to do. I don't need to, example, I need to automate email delivery. I need to automate when somebody go to a landing page that
Mm-hmm.
they can get the information. Like I don't need to send them a mail letter printed with the, oh, here's how to do this. No, I can deliver it right away. That's a simple automation. With AI, I need to know what I want to automate so then I can do that.
Well, and it's also going back to the conversation of replacing people or replacing jobs and things like that, where I think that the human touch is really the focal point of what is going to launch your businesses moving forward. It's going to be that authenticity. It's going to be the things that AI can't necessarily do the hyper focal, be able to be creative, and insightful, because I think AI is going to be more of regurgitation of what already exists versus the new way of moving forward and being our own impactful way of doing things.
When you guys can't sleep, if you go and you look for the Google video that describe how LLMs work,
Hmm.
it probably will put you to sleep very quick if that is not your thing. But one of the interesting details that it describes what an LLM is, ChatGPT is based on the OpenAI LLM, is just predicting based on what it have learned before
Hmm.
what it is. So one detail that it doesn't have is the human empathy detail. That's why you have to prompt it correctly, and some studies show that your prompt should be starting at 450 words so you can actually get a good response from the LLM. Because if not, it's just gonna say, "How do I do this?" and it's gonna tell you the X, Y, and Z. That's it. It's not gonna go the human touch. So when we automate, one of the things that we do is that we actually create a little bit of randomness in the prompts.
That makes sense.
So when the platform, like example, like you can use Zapier,
Hmm.
you can use Pabbly, you can use Make. If you're starting, those are great platforms to start.
Those are middleware platforms that connect different softwares together.
Yeah.
By the way.
Um, but when you have a marketing agency, it will be worth investing in a tool called N8N. And the reason that I mentioned that with ChatGPT, because you're going back and forth, you're not paying for tasks. You own the tool, you control it. So the payment of going back and forth, to give you an example, a conversation that could cost me probably between $1 and $50 to complete, it cost me probably 10 cents
Right.
because I own then that infrastructure, and all that I have to do is talk to ChatGPT.
Well, and prompt engineering is a whole different conversation as well, because going back to the roles and the tasks that all of us need to do and achieve, there's different metrics and different insights that we're looking for. And being able to identify and create an effective pathway for that role and task to be done is a whole nother whirlwind. And how you can program essentially or interact with AI and using different types of prompts, what the prompt should have, using NLP and all of this good stuff, and how to extract the best data is a whole nother science in and of itself as well.
Yeah, the idea of, I look at it this way. I love speaking. I love talking to other people. That is one of my, on a this personality profile, I'm a DI, and
Okay.
sometimes I'm an ID. So that's dominant, inspiring, sometimes inspiring, dominant. So I can be talking the whole day. Like we used to go to a conference in Orlando, and literally we started like around 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was 12 o'clock at night, and we were still connecting and interacting and doing things.
Hmm.
So I look at an AI platform as probably having literally someone right next to me that I can try to figure out the problem that I'm trying to solve. And when I do that, it's not that I'm making it my friend, but I am like, hey, sorry, we have this problem. Do you know how to fix it? And you're gonna tell me, oh yeah, let's figure out. Let's try this. And then I go, okay, I tried it. It works, but I had this problem. It give me an error.
Hmm.
Error, you couldn't connect or something like that. You go, oh, sorry. It's like having people that you interact, and in that way, it make it easier. And when we automate then that problem, we can go and then, like you said, you're asking someone now they can do the work without you. To a certain degree, they can, but to a certain degree, they have to depend on your input.
Yep.
And that I think that that's a key that AI will enable us to be successful in what we do, but we cannot depend on the output that comes on the first time. I need to go
Yeah, multiple iterations.
correct. I need to verify that that output is correct.
And that's where the judgment of that iteration comes in, right? So, do I use iteration number 3 or 4 is kind of also where you say, what is the quality of my brand? What is the standards that I want to stay up aggress and get to that point is the reason we still need to exist to make those decisions.
Correct. And we need human beings that actually are learning ahead of us so we can connect with them. Like
Hmm.
I have a mastermind that I connect with them every Friday, and all that they talk is about that.
Hmm.
And I'm looking and learning from them and going, oh yeah, I tried that, it didn't work that way. Here's what you could do. Or they went and because they had a different use case, they actually went and here's what we did to automate it.
Hmm.
Now we're bringing the data in a different way. Like we were having a problem with one of the apps that we're working on, and I wanted to bring all of our podcast so it will summarize it. Even though I have an app that does that, I wanted to bring the summarization to be able to
Hmm.
create the idea to repurpose the content. And we were having problems until then one of the developers figure out what to do to then leverage. And now I don't have to go anywhere else.
Right.
Now I have, and I automated that process that it was going to be, I needed to transcribe the podcast first,
Right.
then upload it if I was going to put on ChatGPT or read it, and then be able to create the post or the podcast or stuff like that. Now I can, in one shot, I go podcast link, podcast episode, go in, give me a summary, give me posts and stuff like that. So the idea, like I mentioned, what do we need to do? We need to know the process and then start automating it. And
And it's funny because the process part is super overlooked, especially if we have teams of people that are doing 5 different sets of processes. Um, it is super overlooked to be able to create a linear pathway of systems to say, okay, this happens first, this happens next. But you can automate that process flow to be able to do it just exactly the way you want, depending on your clarification of what's required and the prerequisites of each task.
that is a great use for a basic prompt of ChatGPT.
Mhm.
Okay, I need to do this task. Give me the list of steps to complete this process. And it will give it to you, and you can come and say, oh, yeah, I need 2 more processes, or no, I'm missing 3. And in that way, you can connect to it.
Yep, 100%. And it works both ways too, right? So it works in a way of managing tasks and roles, let's say the marketing department or sales or whatever the case, but it also works higher level as well. So, I have like a board of directors AI, right? And so I have board of directors that will manage my metrics as a person or my businesses to say, okay, we're moving in the right direction or this is where it should be. So there's different levels and different interactions that you can have based on what you need it to be, right? And that's also part of the creative part is what do you need it to be? If it's a Swiss Army knife, the Swiss Army knife, if you don't pull out the actual tool, doesn't actually do anything, right? You can throw it at somebody, but if you get the screwdriver out, now you can use it as a screwdriver, and that's really the other main aspect of it.
I think that I want to open it because you brought a good point, and I want to see the audience. I don't know if you guys remember the program MacGyver, even the original version or the new version. He's the only person in history.
Do you have a pack of gum on you? Is
No, I don't
that?
have Pacom. That I have seen that can use a Swiss Army knife to fix every problem.
hmm
So I would like to hear some of the challenges that the audience is having and see if we can help them
Yeah.
to try to automate some of them. Do you guys like that? Okay, who wanna start? A challenge that you have with AI or with one of your processes that you would like um, some help with, so we can go into the discussion on how we will automate that. Volunteers? Okay, we have one there.
Here you go, my man.
Sure.
Yeah.
Basically is so like you said, you can't have that human element, right? I use AI to create rough drafts or validate a premise, but how is it? I find that a lot of people think good enough is great, but it's really just bland. But they can't tell the difference. So how do we make them aware? I mean, how do you? That's my challenge. Is I find AI generates very bland content, but it is a good start.
Hmm.
I don't think it's at the point. I mean, I don't know who here heard the new George Carlin AI album. Anyone? It was not funny at all. It sounded like him, had his rhythm,
hmm
cadence, everything, but I didn't laugh, and that's the one KPI for comedy, right? And it didn't happen. So, but some people out there, I bet, think thought it was really funny. So that's the challenge. It's very ambiguous, and I'm not sure what can be done.
Yeah, I think it gets you 80% of the way there, 75% of the way there, right? But it's also tweaking and adjusting it and making sure that it has the right inputs to be able to create the ideal outputs, right? And also the level of standard that we set for ourselves for our personal brand and the way we want to show up is a whole different game in and of itself, right? There's some businesses that are okay with the generic outputs that are out there, and then there's other ones where we can tell pretty quick, like, no, that's not me. But it's also based on, like, there's my personal chatbot that it has like maybe 30 or 40 different inputs, going from census to Facebook metrics or whatever the case, right? And so there's a lot of metrics that come in and feed and fine tune my personal AI versus just that one general aspect of things.
I will say that, as you mentioned, you know how you sound. The customer may sound like you, but they may want to sound like them. To
hmm
give an example, if you're working for a female brand, we probably can speak exactly like a woman. So then, when the content is created, you want to probably have somebody that will review that and say, does this sound something like it will attract you? And also you go, no, this doesn't sound like me. Or if it, like, a recipe is very simple, three of this, four of that, a couple of this. So there's not like a lot of checking there. But if you're doing a scientific paper, you're doing something that you want to connect. Remember the personalization. That's when you show your customer. I sometimes show them what it is. Okay, here's what comes out. Here's how I made it better. It doesn't mean that we cannot use tools. There's always tools that we, as a trade, for our trade, we need to use. What we do is that we make it better. We actually sit down and go, okay, you use a word that Facebook will flag that as a bad ad. So that could not go in. You know that, but what can you do? You can actually get that list, feed it, like Monsieur mentioned, to your custom bot and say, do not use any of these words
hmm
in the copy that you create. And then you give it the personality So it sounds different. At the end of the day, like the word says, the the test is on the pudding. Like when you do run the ad, if it converts, it's good. If it doesn't convert, it's not good. So that's what the copy gonna make the difference. And leveraging AI gonna help you to start the process, like Masood mentioned. You have to take it to the finish line.
And part of that, there's a couple steps involved in that. So you can do the creative output, and even if it's generic, you can try 5, 10 different things that you might not have done. But if you find something that's successful, you can reverse engineer and figure out and go back and feed it back and say, why did this become successful? I didn't even go down that pathway. And so that's a whole nother thing that you can do, is kind of again going back through the iteration process and just again just fine tuning.
Another problem, another question. You guys are master on AI? Come on. There have to be probably some challenges that you want to automate in your business. Mhm.
So, uh, so you mentioned about personalization in AI. Okay, so I've been an active, what you say, the person on putting on LinkedIn and things like that. Now I've been making my own post, but it used to take sometimes 1 hour, 2 hours, depending on whatever it is. Now with the Chat GPT, for me it just takes seconds to generate that content, and it helps me to schedule that content much easily and faster, even especially when I keep traveling around. But the challenge which happens is that even though the content looks good, it's not personalized.
Correct.
It and it has actually, while the content is being posted continuously, my I'm not a very big fan of likes or comments, because most of the business which we do is actually comes out of the likes and comments. That's not the point. But the traction of those posts which has been generated out of Chat GPT, even though it looks pretty good to me from that perspective, from the language and from other perspectives, uh, but personalized is always better. So how do you manage this personalized aspect of Chat GPT or any other kind of content generation, be it the graphic design or it could be the content design into using AI?
Okay, I will tell you what I do. I have one of our blog that goes on LinkedIn, very similar. Uh, I work leadership, technology, spiritual development. The leadership one, I actually have 3 different chatbots that I use to be able to create the post. That post, what ChatGPT give me, like Mansoor mentioned, is the 80%, and I sit down and I go, okay, for me is the research. Before I used to go to a library or to the books, and again, I'm dating myself. When I used to go into university, I used to have to open the little box and go through the little things to, okay, the car
Car
catalog.
catalogs.
So now I don't have to do that. So ChatGPT is giving me the meat and potatoes. Now I sit down, and the first thing that I do, I have a Grammarly paid business account. Grammarly, and I go, my settings are I want to be professional, and I forgot what is the other one. But the idea is that anything that I write need to go through that filter. So I go and I fix the whole content to make sure that it meets that. And I sit down and I read it. I go, one thing is that it looks good. Another thing is reading it to see if it actually is good. Because yeah, it can generate that in 2 minutes, copy, paste, go, done. But again, you're not gonna get the engagement. So now, after I go through that, I will say it will take me probably, let's say 10 minutes to go through that cleaning. Second thing that I go against plagiarism. Give me anything that looks like it has been used somewhere else. And Grammarly is great for that. That actually is the most tedious part, because now it's gonna highlight everything that may appear somewhere else. Now I have to, based on the article, rewrite it. So because I rewrote then that content, it may have to then go again through the Grammarly to fix it. When that finishes, I go, this is good, copy. Now I go back to ChatGPT and go, here's, summarize this, give me keywords, give me hashtag, give me a 160 character summary. That give me then everything that I need. And then I take the article and I have another bot and I go, I want to create the blog post image based on this article.
Right.
You see, you go and I haven't automated the whole way because I want to be involved in that part because again, like you mentioned, that's part of my thought leadership in the leadership realm. So I can actually help in this case because the new book that just came out, I'm working with leaders that want to, or professionals that want to become leaders. And nobody was training them. So I said, okay, I'm going to take the time and I'm going to train them. So each article is like guiding them a little bit more. You just got a new position. So that's oh, it doesn't sound like that. Okay, then that post need to get rewritten. That's something that you could do. Right?
And I would have backtracked. I would have been, what's the point? Why are you doing it? And if it's not fulfilling the metric of is required, then let's reframe what the purpose is and how you can get to that actual and attain what the purpose was, right? Whether it's thought leadership, whether it's news, whether it's, making sure that people know that you're on top of it and understanding all the news and politics and everything else that's going into those topics. Those are all a different conversation, right? And part of what he said was hand holding somebody through their journey and talking about what that next step is. That's a different conversation than something else. And so let's really try to identify what the point is and then reverse engineering how to actually achieve and maintain those metrics.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. We have time for one more question. This lovely lady here.
Hi. So you talked about more of like the personalization of using ChatGPT and the consistency of it. So my question is how are you generating that in ChatGPT? Do you pop in something that says give me a month plan of emails that I can get sent out? Give me like how often are you doing it so that it also doesn't in a sense repeat itself as well?
Okay. Do you want to
If
take it? Or you
that
want me
makes
to take
sense.
it?
I mean, so part of that is, again, going back to the inputs that you're actually putting in and the prompt engineering there. But how many of you use custom instructions in your chat GPT? That's a baseline, right? So that alone is one step beyond the normal user or the normal output. But that's one step. And then how many of you guys used ChatGPT to write your custom instructions, right? And so there's pages and layers of how you can utilize and optimize and just dig in deep, deep, deep down in the rabbit hole. But part of that is all in the insights and the inputs that you put in order to get it. Um, the insights is probably the next biggest thing, and utilizing as much data and the summation of that data and kind of addressing what, again, going back to the metrics, what addressing what the point is and addressing what it might require and what data points it might require to get to that actual insight, because the insight is probably the hardest part. It has all this data but it can't give you a valuable insight to be able to utilize it for the metric that you're trying to go with, or the objective that you're trying to go with. That's the key differentiator on how to attain the ideal execution of it.
And I will say, when you want to personalize, each chat is a history. So what you do within that chat, it can have the context of that conversation. If you open a brand new chat, it's just gonna start from brand new. It's like a child. You're teaching them again. So if you keep it within that chat, and again, don't ask it to write sales copy for a landing page and then write me the ad copy. Think about it as two different individuals because in that way it have that persona and is specific to that. And then what you do is that you have to tweak it. Like I said, the input. So you going, start working with us. Okay, here's what I want. Give me an example. Okay. When you find what you like, ask that chat. Please give me the prompt so I can create this output for a custom GPT. And what it's gonna do is I'm gonna see everything that it did previous to your question, and it's gonna give you then a whole paragraph of things. So now it can repeat it. When you find that, you create your own custom GPT. So now every time you go, if it's again, it's an email sequence, a welcome email sequence. Okay, give me a welcome email sequence for, and it can do it, and it's gonna be very similar. But the personalization is that, and it's practice, practice, practice. We're out of time, but if you want more questions, we can talk about it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Big round of applause for these two genius speakers. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We got a panel of 6 coming up. I think you know who you are. All right, so we're going to switch gears. Our next panel discussion is entitled From Creative Genius to Charismatic Leader, Taking the Mantle. This session is all about moving from being an expert in your craft to becoming a leader who inspires. We'll hear from those who walked this path and learn from their steps, stumbles, and success. Our moderator for this panel, please come to the stage. He's the CEO of Pull the Shoot, Jeff Cecil. Or is it Cecil? Cecil. Come on up, Jeff. Jeff Cecil, and you're getting 5 friends coming up too. So put on a mic. Dave Mackin, Mike Terlizzi, Kyle Kostich, Kathy Taylor Salisbury, and Amine Jedi. Why does it say Amine? Okay. Amine Jedi. I love that name. Come on down, get a mic, and y'all are going to talk about your strategies with the panel. We're going to give you 50 good minutes on this one.
Check, check.
What a beautiful panel. Look at these gorgeous, smart people.
1, 2. Check, check.
When everybody gets up, let's just go around and just do a quick little brief introduction, and then I'll walk off stage and let these guys take over. Sir, tell us a little about yourself.
I'm not sure if they can hear me. Okay.
Oh, you go.
Am I good? Oh yeah, they can hear me now. I'm good. So my name is Jeff Cecil. I'm the moderator today. Hope you guys are having a great day. By the way, it's the first day here at CXO, and it was kind of an exciting day for that and for the marketing team and just all the different rooms that are going on here. It's really been fun. I am the CEO and founder of a company called Pull the Shoot. Pull the Shoot came from a skydiving event that I did when I was 40. And so I always like to tell people that my goal in life is to help businesses grow and be the best they can be by getting them to quote unquote pull the chute and work on their companies instead of always working in their companies. So we're based out of Nashville, Tennessee. We have offices in Nashville, in Chicago, and we are opening up one in April in London, England. So we're excited about that as well.
Hi, everyone.
Okay.
Okay. My name's Kathy Taylor Salisbury, and I am coming from Phoenix, Arizona. Yes. The other valley of the sun. um, the name of my company is Tailor Made Consultants LLC. And what we do is we help startups to actually get started. We can uh, mainly foster you through to where if you need equipment financing, if you need help with build your business plans, things of that nature, we can help as well. I'm a finance broker, and so I can get you working capital. We can do equipment needs for anything you may have. We also do social media marketing, and we have a podcast, Health, Wealth for Better Self. and to tell you just how your health can affect your money. So, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. To better understand what I do in my life, so I help organization to lead change management, to conduct a project of digital transformation. I'm not a guy of marketing, but I use marketing in my project. And I have a project. It's called Silver Polymer. I'm a co-founder of Silver Polymer. We produce the woven bags where we put the rice, where we put a lot of product, agroalimentary product. And I have also a company, it's called IMG Solutions, and it's a consulting company. We give a lot of solution about how we change, how we lead digital transformation, how we adopt new technology and use a new technology. So we will share a lot of our knowledge today to speak about leadership, and it's a very pleasure. Thank you.
Mike. Hey everyone, my name is Kyle Kostasic. I'm an executive creative director and I run a branding and creative group at a large agency. It's a communications agency called ICR. We're global but headquartered out of New York City. I started as a graphic designer and have worked agency side doing branding, advertising, marketing for the last 20 years. So I'm a true creative at heart.
I'm Dave Macon. 7 years ago, I started a marketing agency, which I've recently sold. Now I'm a fractional CMO, which just means that I only work part time and then nap the other half, um, which is working out well for me. I have not skydived.
No,
No,
you should try it sometime.
I don't think so. I think gravity may have a question. But yeah, so no, yeah, so that's what I do. I'm here from Iowa, so I know you're all jealous now.
My name's my name's Mike Terlizzi, or Terlizzi, or Terlizzi, or whatever, however you want to say it. I just started a company. It's actually I changed it so it's listed as Sarissa Marketing, but it's actually called Simple Marketing. And I'd like to be working with early stage companies to basically tell their story, which means their messaging, especially with tech. I used to be a story producer for television, and it just kind of translated really well to early stage companies who need a sort of a unique message, a
Cool.
simple message.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate that. So I just wanted to kick us off a little bit by talking about creatives. My daughter is a creative. I have three daughters. My youngest is a creative. And I always thought of creatives as when they look at things, people always say, think outside the box. When creatives look at things, they go, there is no box. We're not thinking in a box. We're not even thinking outside the box. There's just no box at all. And I think that's an important factor because creatives, especially my daughter, when I look at her, she can start a project, and once she gets it in her head, it's like just zeroed in, put the blinders on, and get it done, right? And that's how creatives, in my opinion, seem to work well because they know what they want to do. It's once they get it out of their heads that they do it. But they do have a tendency to kind of take a seat back sometimes and just kind of take it all in until they can kind of work through what's in their head and then finally pull that out, right? So, that's a creative guru, right? When they can do that. My daughter's amazing. I mean, literally, I'll show her something, she'll go, move that down a half inch, move that over like this, and and then it's like so much better. And I'm like, just crazy how she sees it in her brain. But I think that's important. So what I want to do was kind of start off a little bit with our first question, with keeping that all in mind, because we're going from creative genius to charismatic leader. And what I wanted to ask the panel to start things off is, what do you think is a charismatic, am I saying that word right, leader? So Kathy, we'll start with you.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I think you
okay. In my experience, being a leader is very difficult. You can't go into leadership thinking that you know it all. That's the first thing. If you are not a good follower, then most likely you're not going to be a good leader. But it could be for the fact that you were never really meant for that or you never embraced it. And so you may have only embraced your creative side and never truly honed in the leadership skills that you have. So I think going from creative to being a an awesome leader, you have to think of the things that you would want and lead by the examples that you've had.
Okay, thank you. Pass that down. We'll go right down.
Thank you. For me, first of all, we should understand the meaning of word charismatic. It's an old word from the Greek word, and it's a divine gift. It's maturity. You cannot be charismatic or mature without experience. You should have experience. You should experiment. You should do a lot of your of works to attain this level of maturity. We call this uh, charismatic. But genius, you can born with a lot of skills, and you can be genius. You can be so smart. You can be so intelligent. So the question is how to move on. There is a lot of development of soft skills in the mental that you should do to be charismatic leader. Charismatic leader, you have a vision. You will share your vision with your team member, and it's empathy. You should have a lot of empathy. You should understand your team member, because today, if I speak about just change management with leadership, with charismatic leadership, is you cannot succeed by yourself. You should succeed with other team members, and succeed is collective today. It's not individual. There is no success individual, and this is the difference between maybe a very good, talented, genius leader and a charismatic leader. So this sense of association, this sense of team building, of team, of intelligence, collective. So this is a big difference between both.
Yeah. Yeah. I got one also.
So we take it.
We got a lot.
Yeah.
I think for me, the biggest thing about being a leader for my creative team is that you have to have their backs. They have to know you have their back. And it's not any different than like if you're playing sports, right? The leader is always picking the other people up. He's motivating them. He's showing them that he will be there, whether it's year-end reviews or it's in front of a client who deflates them. Um, he needs to be able to lift them up and have their backs. And once you do that, they will then have your back, and you're truly a team. So I think that's the biggest thing. And then I think also listening. So, you have formal reviews with your employees, but I always make it a point to have monthly check-ins. And, whenever that comes up on my calendar, I'm always too busy to have them, and I hate that I have it, but it's important for the people because they need to be able to talk to you freely and informally about the quality of the work, or if they're unhappy, because you may not know these things just because the day-to-day business gets so busy. So I think, listening and showing them that you have their back, and truly getting them to believe in you as a leader will then just kind of organically make the team work better.
Well, I'm not going to be too surprised for everyone that already knows I'm wicked charismatic. Um, it's wicked charismatic. It's on my resume. No, so the way I kind of go about leadership is um, I've I've had a storied history of being an awful employee, hence the reason I started my own company. Um, and I'm I found that I've just always been pretty opinionated, and what I've learned that I hated really from all my other people I worked with is they have to be the smartest one at the table, right? It's they were right. It was the way they wanted to do it,
Yep.
and there was no other way around it. So I'm very much the opposite. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, there's probably an issue. I don't ever want to be in that position. So even though I may have the idea, it's the team behind me that really helps or really enables it actually to come to fruition. So honestly, without the team behind you, you're just an idea, and that's great, but it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, that's great.
I think, well, first off, wicked is a Boston word, not an Iowa word.
Not from Iowa,
I'm sorry, wrong state, but whatever. Um, I think first off, I'm not a creative genius, but charismatic leader to me means uh, the same things that go with creativity, which is being interested and being caring and being authentic, and like Kyle mentioned, meeting often and listening and letting them know you have your back. But not only saying it, you have to really show it. So when they do something right, you announce it. When you do something wrong, when the team does something wrong, you have to take the accountability. even if you didn't do it, just to show them that you will take accountability. Um, but it's about caring. You have to care for people and let them know that. Ask them about themselves, learn about them. I find the golden rule doesn't necessarily apply. It's not how you want to treat, like you want people to treat you like you. It's how they want to be treated. So learn how they want to be treated and treat them accordingly. Don't assume that. Don't make assumptions that what pleases you pleases them. So caring, I guess, is the one word.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It's funny because we live in this world where the leadership landscape has changed probably over the last 8 to 10 years, right? I know when I started my career, I was originally from Chicago, now I live in Nashville. I worked at Harris Bank in Chicago. And to be a leader, you had to be an expert. And to be so you worked really hard to become the expert. Then when you became the expert, you were a terrible leader because your opinion was you knew better than everybody else. And so instead of asking for their opinions, you told them how they should do it. Way backwards, right? And when I worked at Harris Bank as well, the other thing was you showed up to work, you put your head down, you did your job, you went home, you got a paycheck. Don't ask any questions. They had all the answers. And that has completely changed now in this world. And I think it's amazing that we're talking about this. The amazing stat for me, and I just heard this like 2 days ago that Forbes put it out, 69% of the companies right now know they have leadership issues, but they're not doing a whole lot about it, which is one of the reasons we're up here on this panel, right? We're talking about what it takes. You can be a creative genius and you can give yourself, 110% of everything that you do, but when they move you into that leadership role, what does that mean? And how are you going to go about doing it? It's that, as Mike said, it's, being able to take the blame when something goes wrong. Because truly, if you're the leader, then you didn't train them right if something went wrong, right? And the reality is if you did something right, then you give the praise because it's not about you. And that's the first thing that we like to talk about. It's really not about you as a leader. I think it's Sam Altman at OpenAI, right? When he got fired, if we've all heard that story, he got fired on a Thursday. He got hired by Microsoft on a Friday. By Monday, a letter signed by 750 of his employees to the board of directors said, either you bring him back or we're all walking. And by Tuesday, he was back in, right? Talk about charismatic leadership. He had 750 employees all sign this release, right? But that's because of how he leads and how he empowers others. And that's what we're talking about here, right? If you can empower others to do their best, it's an amazing time. I used to always tell people, when you have employees, ask them what they need to do their job better. And as long as it's within reason, give it to them. Because guess what? They now own that job or that task. And that's going to make all the difference in the world. Our little tagline is grow your people, grow your company, because we firmly believe that if you empower your people and take care of your people, they're going to take care of you as a company. So that's that. So I want to move on. So we're talking about creatives and they're becoming leaders. What do we think is going to be one of the biggest or one or two challenges that they're going to deal with? It's going to be a tough one. Why don't you start? We'll kind of work our way back around. Yeah, you start.
The tough one?
Yeah, I'll give you the tough
Tough
one.
one.
I like the fact that you came up with the whole Greek thing for the charismatic thing. So
Okay. This is because I did well my lesson.
yeah,
So just before beginning with this question, I love it so much. There is a theory, we call it 3C theory for the charismatic leader. It's compassion, collaboration, and communication. The 3C theory that makes you a great charismatic leader, and it's about culture, the culture that you will establish for your team member. So speaking about the challenge for creative genius leader, uh, I see that the first challenge is that you can be a solo player, individual player. It's always about me. I'm the genius. I'm the one who will solve problems. I'm the one who is here to take. But when you are charismatic leader, it's about the team. It's about everyone. So maybe you can be some narcissistic, and
yep, that's a challenge.
yes, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because you will be the star for the team star. But when you are charismatic, you know that it's about the culture, about the engagement, about all the culture that you will develop for your team member. So this is for me the first challenge. It's not to be by yourself. You are with your team member, and you will face the problems with your team member, not just you.
Right.
And the success, I said it another time, the success, it's a collective success for everyone. So you should collaborate, not just playing like by yourself. For me, this is the biggest challenge.
Cool. And do you have another one before we go on? Or is there something else?
Two for me.
Yeah.
The second, I think that communication, the style of communication.
Yes.
because you should give a lot of security of your team member and this culture that you will establish of communication and of collaboration. You can be a genius creative leader and you cannot have it. So this is also, I think that it's a very good challenge,
Absolutely.
a big challenge also.
Okay. Kyle?
Yeah, I think from my point of view, there's two things, right? The first is clients. Clients are very tough to deal with, and a lot of creatives, when they're younger in their career, they're not face-to-face dealing with clients. They go away, they make great creative work, and then it's presented to a client who a lot of times will smash it down and completely, as I said before, deflate them. And being able to not only take that, but then lift everybody back up and, not just say, well, clients are idiots or they don't know what they're talking about, but really understand why they didn't like it and fix it is a big barrier that you have to learn how to do. And it takes a long time and a lot of years to be able to do that well. And the other thing I think that can be challenging for creatives, and I experience this myself, is that you go from the creative side, which is, opening up your mind and thinking outside of the box, to a managerial role where you're doing things that you didn't get into creative to do, like finances and new business and stuff that you didn't want to do, but now because you are a leader, you have to do. That can be a challenge. So, accepting the balance of the business side, meeting the creative can be tough, and it's not for everyone. And there are a lot of creatives who will just stay a creative for their whole life, and that's fine too.
Yeah, well, before we move on, Kyle, I want to dig a little deeper in there. So you had said that one of the challenges for them is like when they get kind of knocked down. And how did you overcome that? Because you said it took you a while. How did you do that?
Years of becoming numb from the I think
And how do you inspire your
have
team
to,
when that happens too?
yeah,
That's the second part.
I think it's, from my point of view, getting used to it, right? When you come out of school and you're a creative, whether you're a designer or a writer, everything is great, right? You've had weeks to work on it and you've thought about it and your teachers helped you get it somewhere good. When you get in the real world, you get one shot at it, and if the client bats it down, it takes a while for you kind of develop a thick skin and then start to understand why the client didn't like it. And you have to oftentimes go back to, at least in my space, the creative brief, which will have what they really wanted to solve and try to figure out what it was they didn't like about it. And sometimes the client is wrong, right? They're not always right. They don't know how to analyze creative the same way that a creative does. But I think just explaining to them why maybe they are thinking about it differently. Maybe we need to change the way we're pitching the creative work, not just change the creative work. Maybe they didn't see it. And if they don't see it, then maybe it's not as good as we thought, because if they can't see it, then a person experiencing the creative for the first time in the real world probably won't see it that way. So I think it's really just talking with them, communication, to your point about, why didn't this work? And honestly, just experiencing it time and time again. And I don't want to go too deep into this, but there are different types of clients. Understanding the kind of client, what their personality is, will change the way that you pitch creative. And it's your job as leader to help understand, okay, how are we going to present this so that it lands the best on them, and really shaping the pitch around the client themselves.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Dave?
Sorry, side huddle. I think for me, it was always generally I come out with some pretty outlandish concepts, and then having to understand that people have a budget.
Oh, there's that darn thing called a budget, right?
Right. So I call it mental illness, call it what you will. But I when I there is no box. So when I think of something, I think of grandiose and being kind of scaling back on some of the stuff that I originally started kind of suggesting, was kind of originally that was, and then back to your point, I started a company, but I started a marketing agency because I wanted to be creative, and then I found myself in a running a business, and then all the things that came along with that,
Right.
and so it was it was discouraging there for a bit because I was like, I don't want to run a business. I don't know anything about running a business. But yeah, so no, it's understanding that all is possible through money, but you don't always have you don't always have the funds.
Wait, so what, Don, don't pass that mic yet. I'm not letting you off that easy. So from a challenging standpoint, though, we're talking about leadership, right? And coming in, charismatic leader. So one of those challenges is, you get the grandiose ideas, right? But you're leading a team, right? So how does what is the challenge of yours? And you fell into this role in a sense. What was one of your other challenges?
Well, and I think when you manage a team of other creatives, it's managing the biggest portion of it is actually managing egos.
Yes. There you go.
Because everyone, like, they're just, you'll say, hey, and again, it's sometimes the client's usually wrong. Um, and so, you'll have they'll produce something and then they'll put it out, and then the client will say, well, I don't like that. And then you have a bunch of sensitive, like, snowflake artists that are like, well, they just don't understand it. As a leader, you kind of have to be like, I don't need you to understand like what they're thinking. I just need you to redo it. And so, as I say, you come from a creative, and then you kind of forced into leadership position where you have to actually start understanding how business actually operates, and that it's not all about your creative vision, right? We're not Spielberg. We're
Right.
not making, we're not making Schindler's List with, creative freedoms. It's we're being told by the studio what movie to make, and that's what you got to do. So, yeah, I think from creative, it would be nice if we got to fulfill our creative visions for all the projects we work on, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it is a business, and you're putting out a product that the client wants to see.
Cool. Thanks.
Just building off that point, Steven Spielberg and resources, right? So Jaws didn't have the money; they couldn't get the shark to work, and those constraints actually made it a better movie because the barrels was terrifying, and right. But if we saw the shark, it would have been worse. So often, I find less resources garners more creativity because you have to be resourceful. You have to figure it out. Um, and as far as going from, being I was a creative. I was a jazz piano player, and I worked in story production. And then I wanted to move back to Boston, so I went to business school. And that's when I learned to communicate in a style that at first I was like, they all thought I was nuts because I was used to communicating with other creatives, all thinking out loud and blah, blah, blah. But you have like to communicate with them in a tight way. And that transfers over in that I like to let people know how I think and so that they understand where I'm coming from. And I always let them know I know what I don't know, and I'm not afraid to say I don't know. And if something's wrong, that's usually just the first step for it being right. So it's okay to be wrong, make mistakes. It's fine. Error's a teacher. So that let them know that don't be afraid of saying the wrong thing because the wrong thing is often the first step to the right thing. I mean, read the first draft of that's why comedians don't let you take record their sets because that's them working on a draft.
Right.
Right. So you want people to see a rough draft? I wouldn't. um, so yeah, and then I think that answers the question. I don't know if it does, but
Challenges for
with
becoming a
managing
leader.
creatives.
So yeah,
Well,
you were again you were both. I got three creatives down there.
it's someone if someone like you mentioned someone was like, well, if they're stubborn like that, I don't know that they're creative. I think they're creative in title only, because a creative person is fine with they can tolerate failure. They can tolerate that nag of not getting things done right now because they want to make it the best. And if they're not willing to say, um, okay, what if and yes and or some, keep it positive. That's how you foster creativity and manage creatives and let them know that the only thing like negativity kills creativity. Anyone who is to put you on the defense kills creativity. So if you have to manage creatives, you want to be um, open to the fact that I even intentionally sometimes will put bad ideas out there just to see what they say and make sure that they're not just yesing me.
That's great.
Yeah, it's fun way to when they do, and I'm like, no, that's a terrible idea. But
I'm glad you agree. Great. Kathy?
I would just like
Oh,
to
wait.
add one last thing.
Yeah.
Did you know that the shark's name in Jaws is Bruce? It's it's
Why
so
didn't we
much
put those
less
two
scary now,
names
isn't it?
together?
If every time you see him on screen and then you just call him Bruce. Oh, yeah. Just
Okay.
go head first.
I'm going to take control of the battle back over here.
Mike over
Kathy, go
there,
ahead.
I just don't know.
what do you mean funny? Funny how?
Okay, I agree and somewhat disagree with everything they've said because
I love
men.
it.
I'm just joking, but not
Sexist.
joking, but not really joking. Um, I'm a creative, and I come from a creative world. My family's back there. We're all very creative, and I think women mostly are. And so the problem with that is that we're used to creating and making and building and nurturing so much that sometimes we're not consistent in any one thing because we have to do everything. And we're expected to do great at everything we do. Right, ladies? Yes.
Hmm? We agree with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
I see you.
I So, because of that, I think that we all have that. All women, especially, have the ability to be a creative. The problem is the consistency because we have to be creative in so many ways. It's what do I do today? I've got to manage my day. Everything that we do is creative, right? So, because of that, what you have to do in order to be a leader, whether it be in your home, because our home is our first or second job, along with the job you have, is to decide what is the most important thing to me. I call it my Jack in the Beanstalk theory.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm waiting.
All right. You're liking this.
I'm liking this.
You'll love it even more in a minute. So, if you know the story of Jack, right? He waters this little tiny beanstalk and he expects instantaneous things to happen, right? Which is something that we all expect. But a lot of people didn't believe him. Am I correct?
Correct.
That there
Yep.
was going to be a beanstalk. So what did he do? Somebody know the story? Tell me, what happened to Jack?
Climb the beanstalk?
He planted it, but what happened after he planted it?
He went to
Early.
bed, I think, right?
He went to bed and got some
I
rest.
see.
He got some rest. So lack of rest can kind of mess up your thought process, right? You start like staying up all night long, because I do,
Yeah.
thinking of
I
so
don't.
many ideas, because that's what creatives do, and then we are not consistent going through it. He did that one thing that one time and he got a result. Focus. Creatives have to focus on one thing at one time, and that way it gets the proper result. I'm a creative. Sometimes I think I have adult ADHD because I'm everywhere. I do everything all the time. And I think that's what happens with women. So I'm just saying, think about Jack, plant it. If it means you've planted that seed, you've done it as a leader, do that, rest. If it grows the next day, wonderful. If it does not, what should you do? Continue to water it, but don't forget about it because creatives are used to moving on to the next thing. So, consistency, creativity, watering it, that means watering your people, allowing them to also feed into your creative idea to make it a reality.
So if I'm hearing you right, you're saying that one of the biggest challenges is that we don't wait long enough
Yes.
to get what we need to get. We got to take a
Yes.
little time, pause.
Yes. Yeah, it's important.
I'll pull the chute. I'll punch myself there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes,
but
you
yeah,
do.
right. Get them to take a break.
Take a break. You got to rest.
Yeah. Okay.
You can't expect it to be instantaneous all the time. But
Right.
once he rested, he realized that it grew. So sometimes you have to let things simmer, and results don't happen automatically all the time. So
Yeah,
that's
I agree. Thank you, Kathy.
that's my challenge.
For me, I think that for creatives, and I think I'm a creative until my daughter looks at what I do and she goes, "Get out of the way." So no, I'm not. But I think that one of the things that I find anyway is that ability um, to delegate is a big thing for them, right? So delegating, and then when they decide they're going to delegate, letting the people go do what they should do, right? Because what happens is it's like you just said, you do everything, right? So you just want to take control and you want to get it done, and it's your way. You know how to do it best and all that stuff. So for me, I think when I think about creatives becoming leaders, that is one of the biggest challenges for them because they want to keep it all and they want to just do it versus trusting, and that's the hardest thing as a leader is trusting who you're giving the information to, right? And that comes back to training them, and which is another piece, right? So you're going to pass this stuff off. You don't just pass it off. You have to spend time, which is another issue for creatives, right? Because time it kills them. They want their time, not your time. And so they're going to struggle through that. So, they really need to work. I think those are two huge challenges that they really are going to struggle with and have a hard time with. So we talked about challenges. What advice? I want to go flip the other side. You gave a little bit of advice, but I want to go even further. And Kyle, we're going to start with you this time. I want to keep moving it down a little bit. But what advice would you give creatives that are becoming leaders that would help them become good leaders? And maybe not charismatic leaders, but let's start with good leaders at this point.
I don't think it's very dissimilar from everything we already talked about, to be honest. Because I think charismatic is kind of a personality trait, right?
Right.
Not everyone that is a good leader is charismatic and outgoing. You can lead by example. So I think, everything we've talked about, I don't want to really rehash, but I think it really is listening, being transparent, making sure you have their backs, like I said earlier, and opening up a space where everyone can feel free to share ideas, because a good idea can come from anywhere. Just because you have a good title doesn't mean that you can solve the client's problem that day. So, including everyone early on in the project, and then letting the team that comes up with the good solution take it forward. And if their idea is picked, let them have that project because they've earned it and it's their vision. So I think just kind of doing everything you can as a leader to promote a good culture for them to think freely and work together is probably the biggest thing.
Cool, thanks.
I would say teaching them what's called, Robert McKinnon did these psychological studies on what's called the open mode and the closed mode. The open mode is when, like that beanstalk that you plant, it's when you sit and think about an idea, right? I always sit 90 minutes. I know I'm not going to have the answer, but I'm going to go about my life and let my back brain do the thinking, and then I'll have that moment later. But there's also the closed mode, and that's when you execute. And you have to let them know, okay, so we're operating in the open mode. Let's ideate. Let's be positive. Foster creativity. I've had engineers come up with good ideas who said they weren't creative, but they were. They just needed the right environment. But then once you execute, now you're closed mode. Okay, no more. This is execution, and then reevaluate in the open and go back to the closed and let them know, like you said, a bad idea. Someone could put out a bad idea, and let them know that could be the first, jumping point to the good idea. But letting them know that you just, in your way of operating, this is how I think, and then be open to, let them say their piece, and maybe they do it differently.
Yeah.
Maybe you're wrong. Again, I've been wrong a lot.
Right.
That's my wife.
Yeah, well, and I think it's important that we rehash some of this stuff anyway, because, we're only up here for 50 minutes, and you guys are all doing that. We always say to ourselves, I saw this, I got some great ideas, but then you got to implement them too. And so, kind of hearing it again and again. So I don't mind that we're rehashing a couple things and hopefully finding a couple new things as well. So Dave, what do you got?
I think regardless of where you come from, going into leadership, I think the biggest thing is to stay humble. Because really,
Love that.
there's, I mean, I've always said that you kind of have to be full of yourself to start a business,
Mhm.
but to continue to be successful in business is you have to become humble to the fact that you're not the smartest one in the room. You don't know everything. There are a ton of people that do things better than you, and really to find those and foster those type of people is really what's going to make you stand out and successful as a leader.
Love it. Thanks. Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Give us another piece of advice here.
some more advice. Well, what I've learned today, just even because as a child, my mother used to tell me, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. And I said, well, why not? And so as I grew to be an adult and doing leadership, um, no, it's not good to always be the smartest person in the room. But as a leader, you have to have control of your environment, not to be like your hand on things and just be so micromanaging. That never helps any situation. But you don't have to lead the same way somebody else did. And sometimes we just need a mentor to show us because I could be from the East, which I am, and most people, like there's a few people here, East Coasterners, we like for you to get to the point. You don't have to sugarcoat stuff, right? So if you're in the East, you're very to the point, right?
Yep.
In the South, it's ma'am and please and excuse me.
We
And
eventually get
yeah.
there.
So you can't do what you can with someone from the Northeast
Mhm.
with someone from the South. So you can't take that advice and use it on
Right.
Jeff the same way you would use it on Dave, because Jeff might take offense, whereas Dave would be or
Kyle.
Paul,
Kyle.
Kyle. I'm sorry, Kyle.
It's all good.
I don't know my kids' names either. It's okay.
I do.
Yeah.
Weird.
So right, so you can't treat Kyle the same way you treat Jeff. So your leadership, you really got to know your audience. Honestly, I would say know your audience, know their background, because everybody's moved from somewhere,
Yeah.
someplace else. So you really need to. I have a form that's called how you want to be coached. How do I want to be coached? Ask people and really just tailor your resources to them and lead accordingly. There's no one method that's going to work because everybody's different. So as long as you foster everyone's individuality and let them be themselves, and and what I also learned, and I'm going to stop.
No, you're fine. This is all good stuff.
My advice is to always hire people that know something you don't,
Yeah.
Oh,
that have a skill that you don't have, because you're not going to know everything. So you got to hire somebody that's really good at AI. You got to hire somebody who is, really good with the internet or technical stuff, or so you have to, it's that tier method that you have to oversee those things because you can't have it all. So as a leader, one thing, hire people that know something you don't have, foster their individuality, and don't try to treat everyone the same, because you can't, based on people's background.
And just to echo, I think what I heard you say was get to know people,
You've got to.
right? Don't they're people, right? So
They're
get to know them,
people.
build a relationship with them,
Yeah.
get to know their background, so you know how they think, and that's going to help you be a better leader.
Right.
Okay.
Because it's now knowing him, I know that he is like put together. I would not come to him with something that is like not together, because he's very much together. So you have to think about, okay, I'm coming to this person, even if they're a new client, don't go up to him and he's your client and you look crazy and look at him. You can't do that. You got to match
Yeah.
match energy.
All right.
We met.
I mean,
We match energy.
you got the pass that mic over.
Thank you. Huh? Thank you. A lot of a lot of confidence that we build now,
Yeah,
and
right.
it's very essential for leadership. The confidence. Uh, what I will say now that genius. We are not saying that genius is bad or charismatic leader is better than genius leader. No, we need to be charismatic and we need also to be a genius. For example, an organization they put a lot of money and put a lot of budget for creativity and for innovation. So we need this aspect of creativity and innovation. But also we need the continuity of activity, and this is why we say charismatic leadership. For me, a genius leader, he will bring idea, he will inspire people, he will give the example. But charismatic leader, he will give meaning to idea, meaning to change, meaning to challenge, and he will give a lot of He will learn from failure. But a young genius with the first failure, with not a lot of experience, he can be burned. So charismatic is the experience. And what should I advise or give like advice? So my advice is to adapt to change because we live in a world that we don't know when, where we will go tomorrow, after tomorrow, what we will face, what to do, what not to do. So we should adapt. We should be open to this, to what we are living now. So this is for me the key word, adapting to change. And this is charismatic leader, what they do now, and charismatic management, what they are doing now.
That's great. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Panel, we have 5 minutes for
Okay.
questions.
For me, advice would be appreciate your people. And what I mean is not just one-on-one, tell them they did a good job, but every quarter, take everybody out for an evening. We used to do that for one of my companies. I used to live in Chicago, and one time we took everyone to the Cubs game, and there was like 15 of us. And they appreciate that so much more, right? We worked on the second floor at 901 West Jackson, and below us was a restaurant and a bar. We'd rent the back room out, and we'd have everyone come down for 3 hours. You know, they got drinks and appetizers, and we would single somebody, one or two people out, each and every time. But just, it's not just telling them or you appreciate them. Excuse me, show them that you appreciate them, and by taking them out, I think that's a key.
Yeah, my dad ran a practice for 30 years, and I asked him, had he ever fired someone? Only one person for stealing.
Mhm.
I said, how did you go 30 years and not fired? He said, I hire people carefully, and then I treat them well.
Yep.
And that was really it.
Absolutely.
Treat them well and hire people who
Yep.
he was starting out, needed to have someone do administrative stuff. So all the time he spent was on the doctor stuff because he knew I couldn't do both.
Yeah.
And any minute not doing the doctor stuff was a wasted opportunity. But treat them well. Just
Yeah.
treat them well.
So we have less than 5 minutes. Any questions from the audience that we can answer for you? You can see? Okay. No, she's bringing you the mic.
Thank you. This has been very insightful on the leadership perspective. And I'm curious how the role of personality tests play into the new leadership roles that are out there. I find that I rank very strong on these personality tests. Doesn't mean I don't have the emotional intelligence to know how to read the room and choose my battles when I'm arguing with the Hong Kong legal team over GDPR, not cannibalizing our database and having to reconsent it.
Right.
And also, having the knowledge to embrace the cross-departmental collaboration in order to drive insights and being able to make hard decisions. Being in CRM and business intelligence, I'm half left brain, half right brain. I'm a creative data geek. And but I find that I come across too strong in these personality tests, but I can't just be humble in the database. I have to know when to trim the fat, make hard decisions, and get the best out of everyone because I'm not the most intelligent person in the room. You can't possibly manage your relationship with the customer without having collective input from all departments. But yet on a personality test, this scares the shit out of HR. So how do you find that balance? How is AI and these personality tests, either raising leaders or stifling them?
Right. Anybody? I have a thing. Mike?
I would say don't worry about the personality test. A lot of, I mean, I've only taken one. I'll send you one. I'm sorry.
Have to get it through the front door if you don't
You-
know somebody, and those things are more and more becoming part of the application process.
Yeah, and it is. I'll send you what the one I had that really was great was the strengths deployment inventory. I'll send you the questions and I'll just connect after. It really worked.
I would say that there's not a problem with it because what it is that you're not applying for the jobs that suit you. Because if you're going to a place that really is going to suit your needs and not just a career change, then you're not going to have a problem. They're going to appreciate your value. I know that I couldn't go work at I don't know some what'd you say? Yeah, something like that, right? Because I don't have the personality for delivering
Right.
drinks or whatever the case is.
Sugar water.
I'm not going to say what Dave called me earlier.
What did I? That was in private and via text. Um, well, no,
Change,
I,
just
th-
be you. Just be you.
I think you've got to look at it like you're interviewing them as much as you are interviewing with them, and if they're gonna judge you on some kind of test that just churned out like what quadrant you fall into,
Yeah.
I mean, that's horseshit. You don't want to work for them.
No,
Well, I
turn
wouldn't,
around and go
but
out the
you
door.
know, I mean,
All right,
again, I
panel, we
think if
got time for one more quickie from this lovely lady here.
All right.
don't tell them our
Thank you.
secrets.
Yeah.
Hi. First off, shout out to Montreal, my fellow Montrealer right there. So I just a question to everyone. I also started off in the creative field before I went into become more of a management position. During the pandemic, we were all forced to work remotely, and I found that the growth of the younger stalled. It wasn't as fast as the ones who were in the office. So now after pandemic, we're asking people to come to the office more, but obviously we have that whole situation where like, no, we work from home is much better and so forth. But I see the growth of them is stagnant. How do you deal with situations like that?
So, and let me say something. I mean, you can. So during the pandemic, we had the same thing. I worked for a marketing PR firm. I was consulting with them, and what I would do is spend extra time. It actually caused us to spend more time than we would normally have done with people, but just to identify and work with them one-on-one, and sometimes it's through Zoom calls, most of the time, but just identify where their struggles are, where their challenges are, and then provide different solutions for them. And it became an interesting thing because I would check in on them, and they were thankful that I was actually checking in on them because they thought they were the only ones that were going through stuff and all that stuff. But I think that's one of the biggest things that we can do is that we can just give them a little more love and attention. I mean,
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Very good question. I think that the culture, organization culture, is the key word here. The culture of organization. For example, we can find organization with a lot of workers. They work remotely from a lot of country. Someone in United States, the other from Canada, the other from France. A lot of different culture, personal culture also. So the culture of organization, it's the keyword that will engage everyone. And for example, today we must be agile to better adapt with this situation. So what you will give to your process that you will give to your employees, to workers, it will, and technology also, it will suits when you give, for example, I'm a trainer in Microsoft. So when you give Teams or SharePoint or collaboration ecosystem, so they will can be efficient from home. So this is technology that it will play its role also. Thank you for the question.
thank you. And I guess just I want to thank the panel. You guys were great. Appreciate getting to meet all you guys. It was really wonderful.
Big round of applause. Thank you.
Hang on, let's see if we can get a picture.
You guys are great. Thank you so much.
Hang on, Dave. I want to get a picture.
We're going to keep this party
I
going.
want to get a picture real quick. Mike.
Let's get a picture.
Yeah.
What a beautiful group.
Here, can I have someone?
I got it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Great
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you. Good job, Jeff. Thank you for what you done.
All right, y'all, we got 5 speakers coming up. You know who you are. Let's go ahead and get you mic'd up while I spit some sentences. You're awesome. Okay, so we got our new panel getting mic'd up as we speak. A lot of awesome knowledge being dropped today, guys. The party's still going, though. Our next panel discussion goes for 50 good minutes. The subject is ethics and authenticity, navigating the fine line in digital marketing. Our moderator for this one is Ebony Singletary. Ebony, are you in the house? Joining Ebony today is Laura Sultan, founder and CEO of Designs by Nature Gems, Ashley Marshall, CFO of Tier Level Enterprises, Stuart McFall, founder and president of Stuart McFall Associates, and Anil Argawal, broker and manager of NJ Find. Unfortunately, Joanna Kennedy couldn't make it today. Everybody, make sure your mics work. Take a 10-second introduction, and we'll just let you move on. Have fun. I'll be right here if you need me.
Testing, testing.
Testing.
Yeah.
Testing.
All right, there we go. Great. So I guess we can always take a picture.
Ladies and gentlemen, ethics and authenticity, navigating the fine line in digital marketing.
Check, check, 1, 2.
Hello, 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 hello.
All right. All right, so I guess we'll get started with introductions. We'll say where we're from, what we do, and we'll go from there. So my name is Ebony Singletary. I am the founder and CEO of Ebony Azuri Consulting. It is a full-service marketing company that helps small to mid-sized businesses with their. Ooh,
There you go.
hello.
Powerful.
All right, so let's start over. So my name is Ebony Singletary. I am the founder and CEO of Ebony Azuri Consulting. I started the company about a year and a half ago. We help small to mid-sized businesses with everything in marketing, from social media, traditional marketing, public relations, all of those things. I am moving a little bit into marketing consulting for nonprofits and for churches.
I'm Laura Sultan. I am the founder and CEO of Designs by Nature Gems, a handmade luxury jewelry company. Essentially, we handmake all our crystal jewelry right in Toronto, Ontario, and we ship globally. So all the work, all the designs are mine, but I have an amazing team behind me, and especially an amazing marketing director who's helped steer me. And it's grown into its own entity, if that makes sense. So the crystal jewelry, the designs, everything is part of it. But being authentic, I'm handmade. Like, we're handmade. You have to be authentic is a core. That's one of the reasons I'm here. And also, I've started the Laura Sultan Consulting, which is just about mentoring and trying to help other more creative people. I know all of you are creative, so not like that. More the hands, the creatives who work with their hands, put it that way, and try to help them how to grow a product and a brand and be, authentic.
I'm Ashley Marshall. I'm CFO of Tier Level Enterprises. We have two companies that operate under our umbrella. One is a full service digital marketing company similar to Ebony's, and another is a full merchandise print screening embroidery shop. We do just about everything for your business, marketing wise. So we do the digital side, and we also can do the merchandise processing for you guys. It's been challenging. I want to say that I kind of fell into this role, but keeping it authentic and being true to who I am, also while trying to lead people and lead a marketing company where marketing is changing all the time, digitally and otherwise. It's been interesting and a fun ride, and I'm excited to be up here with you guys.
I'm Stuart McFall of Stuart McFall Associates. We are a 20-year-old tech marketing firm. We've worked with about 250 companies around the world, primarily with emerging tech. Because of what we've done, we introduced cloud computing for Cisco, AR and VR for Apple. The reason that Alexa can answer a question was that Alexa's brain was a client of ours that we brought to Amazon. Those are the kind of companies that we want to work with, companies that genuinely want to make a difference in the world. So authenticity seemed to be a perfect subject for this. So thank you, and I'll pass on to Anil.
Thank you so much, Stuart. So, my name is Anil Agarwal. I am actually kind of little nervous sitting next to the pioneers. So, my company is little young. So, I started a few fluke because I was in fashion industry working for 30 years, and then the other F came in my life. So, I had another. So that time I realized there is not a single platform available who can provide mentorship, motivation, and education to entrepreneurs who want to be entrepreneurs. So I was stuck as employee for many years. I always wanted to become an entrepreneur. So while I was running around trying to find a solution, so ground zero, all the companies which I was tapping to, at is as if like I have to go back to the job like as employee. So I started a company, NJ Find. I I'm happy to say that I'm a president. We did 1 million last year and without spending a zero dime. And that happened because I started working on using the talent on the global available. So using a freelancer. So I tapped to the freelancer and started using big type, like, small businesses, tapping their door. And that time I realized that most of the doors when I was tapping to, they were looking for some help. Let's say some people were looking for like marketing help, some were looking for some sort of a cloud platform, someone looking for a digital marketing, someone looking for events. So that time I made my mantra as I'm a small wheel of a big wheel. So that's how I became like a small wheel. So anyone looking for any strategy, planning, marketing. So my goal is to find talent globally. If I have to travel, I travel. I find that talent and I club them together, and that was the Find came up. So with that being said, we also educate small families, about how to protect their health, wealth, and home. Because while I was working into this project, I became a realtor, and while I was as a realtor, I was, as a realtor, we knock some doors, right? So it was very difficult because I was always a tech side. I never been to marketing. I never done it. I was always in the designing side. I used to handle Macy's design direct department in private label. So for 30 years, I never seen the sunlight. It was always like sitting in a queue, working in meetings, and up and down, coffee cup, and all that stuff. So when someone told me you have to go and knock on a door, I was like scared. I was like, before knocking a door, I just walk away. Okay, I did my part. So finally, one day I got guts and knocks on a door, and that door became like a open door for me because the lady called me inside and she was sitting on a chair and she said, you are the first one came and knocked on my door. No one came and said hi to me. My kids never came said hi to me. I'm sick, and sometime I have to ask someone to bring me a water or something. I have no one. And then she said, matter of fact, I will be losing this home. And I was like, why are you losing this home? She was like, because my daughter got sick, she died, and then I had no one to mentor me out. No one educated me that, all the money I made, I gave it to my daughter education, and then she died unexpectedly, and I have no money now. So I'm like dying, and the house gonna get foreclosed. So that time I made my mission. You know what? Like basically there is a small gap because everyone is talking about big platforms, AI. Even AI, if I chat, the answers I get, no way talking about the human connect. So human beings, I personally feel the mentorship is about 401k, you do 529, but no one is talking about how to protect asset, not to lose assets, where to park your asset, how to protect your home, how to protect your medical bills. So that's where we are, started, and it's a lucrative platform. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So it's great to share the stage with each of you. So each of us has a different kind of background and things like that. So I want to start with how does authenticity affect your marketing decisions when we're each facing the pressure to create engaging content online? So we can start with you, Laura, since you're working with your hands.
So to not be authentic when you're making handmade jewelry is kind of chaotic and problematic. So in a lot of ways, even if we tried not to be, and I have a kind of a loud personality, so it doesn't work when I try not to be. I just end up being quiet and then I end up being loud again. So it doesn't matter. Okay. I don't think this is working. Here, take mine. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Thanks. All right. So I have to be authentic. First of all, I believe in mental health. I'm artistic, I'm creative, I have a family, I live in Toronto, I live a fast paced life, and all that, even if I didn't have it, I'd still have to be aware of mental health. To not be authentic goes against that for me. So that's the first reason. Now let's throw it into a company. Being handmade, usually you end up there because you want to make something. It could be like a release. You may have left a job, stress, something at home, personal, and ends up being a release. So you start working with your hands and you find joy in it, whatever medium you get called to. And then you start realizing that, hey, people like my work. Cool. So you start selling it. And as you're going along, you realize people like your story. So you start sharing it. And the biggest part of being authentic and keeping authentic content is to make sure that you stay focused, I'd say. Because earlier on a previous panel, I heard one of the speakers talk about creatives having trouble with focus. And I just kind of was nodding in the back of my head. And so while you're being authentic, while you're trying to create this content, whatever you do, you must remain focused on the message. And that's actually, again, I'm handmade and I have a loud personality, but I think that's actually one of the reasons handmade struggles. Because everyone who's handmade, on average, you're most likely authentic. You're working, you're showing your art, and now we'll go into marketing. You show your brand. My brand is handmade luxury crystal jewelry. That's my brand. Now you go into it and you see the pictures. You see the name of the company, designs by nature. You see natural vibes, gems, you see crystals. And you're starting to see how the authenticity of the name of my company and the first, tagline connects straight back to the product. And then you scratch further. Everything is mostly my picture. I am the face of my team. So I share my story. You can read about what led me to making crystal jewelry. You can read about like how we grew in the last few years. We are also what's called an e-commerce brand. We sell mostly online. We sell, contradictory kind of, mostly on Amazon, handmade. And that starts to show the complexity of remaining authentic. So we try to keep our tone authentic on Amazon. We keep our tone authentic on all our social media platforms. We keep our tone most and easiestly authentic on our website. But if we move away from that, then we are not the brand. We are not the company. So it's not a question of how to keep to it. It's a question of how to best take care of it. Because as soon as you start moving away from it, when you are very involved in the product, whatever it is, and maybe to the service as well, you're actually losing the voice that created it. And then all of a sudden, you're going to lose some of your clientele because the people who are coming to you as a small business, especially in my case, they got coming to you because of your voice. So you need to keep to it. So you refocus, which is something we've done in the past.
That's a great point. For us, we're more service based, right? 90% of our business is service based. So for us, yeah, that'll be great.
Put this one away.
Being authentic for us with our clients is about being who we are when we speak to them, not only our clients, but potential clients. Um, I have a business counterpart in this room who is phenomenal at getting potential clients to become real clients through being who she is. Her conversations are astounding. And she's just being honest. She's saying, "Tell me about your business," and allowing them the space to do that. We do that with our clients as well. Once they are clients, we're still asking them, "Tell us more about your business as it's evolving, as it's changing, as it's growing," so that we can continue to be your marketing partner, so that we can continue to operate as an extension of your business, because ultimately that's what we are, no matter how we're servicing them. So, staying authentic not only in our marketing message, but in the way that we work with our clients is very, very important to our business. And when we work on our own marketing, as we work on marketing for all of our clients, we encourage our team of people that write that marketing and write that content to let their personality come out. We actually encourage all of our team members to engage and give us ideas on what we should be putting out in our marketing. We roundtable things very frequently. We talk about different ideas and then we create a plan and we execute that plan. I listened to a gentleman say that earlier, being very specific about how you do that. But I think that everyone around us in the world before the pandemic, since the pandemic, wants to know that you're real people, that you are speaking your own real words. And even if you're using AI for ideas or to enhance what you're trying to say, as long as it's your real voice and you're speaking it to people and you're a real person and you're being who you are with your message, people are going to resonate with that. Maybe not all people, but the people that you want to be your clients or to be on your team for that matter, they'll resonate with it. You attract what you put out. So if you're putting out positivity and you're putting out your message as you see it and as you speak it and who you are, you're going to get that in return. And then nothing but growth occurs from that point.
My experience has been with virtually every company that if you dig hard enough into authenticity, you're going to find purpose. Purpose driven companies are at least twice as much successful as non purpose driven companies just by declaring purpose. But if you ground your authenticity in a sense of purpose, that's the thing that engages employees, it engages customers, it creates a personality for your organization that you wouldn't have otherwise. And then you take that purpose based authenticity and then through integrity, which is just taking your authenticity and bringing it to life, you're able to go out and reach those people that you're trying to reach in the most effective way possible, whether it be through content, through contact, or through any type of engagement you want to have.
So, well, all the points are very valid, and thank you so much. I'm sitting, I'm learning too. So, in my case, when I started myself as agent, when I quit our clothing industry, so I had nothing to sell because I was by myself. There is no background, there is nothing. I don't want to share. So, in a LinkedIn, I was like thinking what I should post. So, this is a very solid point, authenticity. So, only thing I had was like I am authentic. So, the very first slogan I made, which I still have it today, I'm agile, active, always available agent. So when I knocked on the door, I said, look, I'm agile, active, all you call me, I will pick up in microsecond. If there is not a second, microsecond will pick up. I have to keep two phones always ready, always charged. So that became a mantra of, to a point like today, it's only 3 years in history, but I'm like, my name is Anil, but there are so many billionaires Anil, like on a globe. Anil Kapoor, Anil Vidhanta, they are billionaire, like sitting on the top. But when someone types Anil Sells, my name comes up first now on Google. So their names come down. Like Anil Kapoor, all the movie star, there came down. Even there is a guy called Anil Agarwal, same as my name, A double G. He is a Vedanta Group CEO. His team called me. Their CEO called me, and I was smart enough. The minute I decided I have to become an agent, I booked my name, Anil Agarwal, because I was so passionate. It's nothing else. I have to promote myself. I have to. Only thing I had was the authenticity because there is nothing else I have. I cannot bring over. I'm a BTech. I'm a master because people are not going to correlate. They want someone like down to ground. They don't want someone with a high baggage and with a big nose and saying here I am, and then they're not going to give me a home to sell. I wanted to be ground zero. So I just cut on everything. I started with, looking like like a handyman contractor, wearing like torn shoes. Total like 360-degree flip. But only thing that's which helped me out to succeed. Number one, like Anil sells, like you put Anil and then sells. My all about me, tick tick tick, and now my clients are talking about it. So the authenticity, just because I became so down and as if like I'm hungry, and I started sharing my story with them. So they talk about me instead of they talking about them. Earlier it was all about me. Hey, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. When in a clothing industry, all about me, I'm this, I'm this. The minute I got like quit, I was like, I'm no one. No one came to say bye to me. Even the dummies never said bye to me when I got fired. So I was like, no one cares about what you are, who you are. So that time it was a total 360 trick, and the only thing made me success is authentic. What I am, how genuine you are, and how you can connect to the like So the one slogan I have, which I basically tell every kid when I go. So like, there are two things. Here I am, which I was. And now my attitude is there you are. I go and approach people. So instead of here I am, I became there you are. So there you are means with the authentic, with the genuine willingness to blend with them as an authentic person.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know for me, one of the things is this is kind of what you get. Like you'll see me in this exact T-shirt if you go to my website right now. So this is how I show up. But how many Ted Lasso fans do I have in the crowd? Exactly. So remember the episode when he was playing darts and he said you should always be curious? That is my slogan walking into any meeting with any potential client. Just be curious. Tell me about your business. How did you get started? Tell me about your family. I want to know about you as a person because then I can do my job a lot better to do your marketing, right? So it's about me being authentic and you being authentic as a client as well.
Can I piggyback on that?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I sell a product mostly. My major company is crystal jewelry. But if I don't know my clientele, or if I go after the wrong clientele, because understand, crystal jewelry is massive. It is not a small little business corner niche. It is very big, and it's actually not a niche in my head. That would be going too wide and not authentic. And like I said, I sold on Amazon. So at a point, I tested that, and yep, I got my lesson learned, and I went back to my happy niche. The point is, I still know my clients. They are people who like unique pieces, artistic designs. You look up my business, you're not going to see the designs in many other places, and there's specific reasons behind that. And then on top of it, I know that a lot of them, there's a lot of parents in that group. And I'm aware of that. So come Mother's Day, I have focused necklaces for mothers. I have focused necklaces for men. 30% of my clientele are men who are open minded, wearing jewelry, often into nature. And I could go on and on. And if I speak to my clients and I do trade shows or art shows, it's the same thing. It's the same concept. You get to know who you sell to. You know their story, you see where it aligns, and then you get to make a connection. And then that authenticity kind of does it for you.
Yeah, I think we start to kind of hide behind the computer screens a lot and we forget that we are people talking to other people, which kind of brings me to my next question about AI. So we've heard a lot about talking about AI and how we can utilize it, good, bad, or indifferent. But how has AI either helped or hurt when we're talking about authentic content? I'll let you start down at the end. Yeah, I'll start down at the end.
Okay, well, again, to my point, how I use AI at cost zero, I will share something which I'm using it as of today. There is a software called HubSpot. It's a CRM software. So when I got started as an employee to entrepreneur, my goal was to not pay money because employees don't spend money. They want to save money. So it was very difficult to me to hire someone to pay money, right? So I was searching. So I made a list of tools where I don't spend any money, but I get what big companies get. So starting with HubSpot, in HubSpot, when you download on your phone, there is this option you can, let's say if any one of you tells me, if I'm talking to you, there is a AI tab over there on the bottom, and it's free. You don't need to pay. I don't pay. So like 5 templates you can create. So on the bottom there is a tool which is a like a AI tool. So let's say first option is who you are sending to, what tone should be, what do you want to talk about, or how length of that tone should be, and I just boom. Now the person will get an email as if like that's what I do. Let's say someone I meet, he's a jewelry store owner, and he wants me to manage his inventory and website from India. So I don't want to talk about real estate. I want to talk about what I want him to sell. So I will use HubSpot. I am my name and jewelry, and then we will sell it from India, and boom, and automatically I will draft the email. So that's a like my one tip about AI, and I use it every day. So it's helping me a lot. It saves my tons of hours.
I probably have a different view of AI than a lot of people do. First of all, I think we have to acknowledge that when it comes to social media and authenticity, that the system has been gamed right from the start. And it just continues to be gamed. All that's happening right now is that the tools are becoming more complex, more sophisticated. It takes things that looked, is that really real? To, yeah, that looks really real because of things like AI. But the fact is, the paradigm of how people use social media isn't really stopping. People are using it to create false impressions. They are using it to game. So that's the first thing. We have to take a look and separate the technology from the people, technology from the intent. When you separate that out and you look at AI, I think AI is just like a hammer. So a hammer, you can use to build something, or you can brain somebody with it. That's what AI can do as well. AI has the power to do very, very great things, very, very bad things, and it's all dependent on who is using it. So it's not the technology itself, it's the intent of the individual or individuals using it. The one thing I think will be a saving thing about AI, particularly in circumstances like this, is that we forget that AI can act as a prevention against AI. AI is probably going to be one of the best guards we have to be able to determine whether or not something is a deep fake, for example. And we're going to be seeing a lot of this in the coming year. So it's going to be a very, very interesting few months ahead.
I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit. Again, it's a tool, right? Just like social media, it's all a tool and it's dependent on who's sitting behind the screen directing that tool on what to do and what not to do. And when it becomes dangerous is you use the word intent. When your intent is to deceive or to appear as something you're not or to put a message out there that isn't true or authentic or ethical, right? That's what we're talking about. Then it can do very bad things and it can do very bad things for your company. It can work poorly. But when you put the right people with the right intent and they use it in the right way, it's constructive and it can blossom. It can really become something that you may have gotten to on your own, right? But it got you there a little bit quicker. So it's a really good tool. But it becomes an ethical issue when you're misusing it and when your intent is not good intent or true, authentic intent. I guess that's a better way to put it, right? And you also have to remember about AI, it's only as smart as the information that is fed into it and as accurate as the information and data is fed into it. When it's fed either, we like to throw the word bias around a lot, right? So when it's fed specific content, it's going to have a very different output. And to your point, you can make it work against itself. You can make it contradict itself or tell untruths. So again, intent and intelligence when using it and making sure that you're using it as a supportive tool. I think that's very, very, very key. Not using it to write all of your content word for word, right? Use it to enhance your content, your voice, your personality. That's a better way to use AI.
I'm going to jump back to some of the positives that you were doing at the end. So, for us, and keep in mind, I keep going back to I'm handmade because it's the way I differentiate a bit. So, to ground what I'm about to say, the majority of my team are artists who make things. Okay? There's about 3 of us who deal with sales and operations. And then of the people who deal with marketing, there is 2 of us and one person who is my director who does a fantastic job. And she deals with a lot of it. And then I come in and try to help as often as I can. The reason I'm saying this, I'm showing you kind of the short staffed we are. And I'm making that clear to explain why with the right intent and with caution and thoughtfulness, we are using AI. We're going to use it for some help for photo shoots. To plan a photo shoot, because I've done a bunch of these, takes a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of people, and then you need to edit the pictures, and then you need to put them into proper graphics, and then, and then, and then. I could keep going. You have no idea. So photo shoots are a big deal. Now, I plan to still do in-person photo shoots. This is me not scrapping it. But this enables us to say, hey, here is a bridal line on a bride. And it's winter in Toronto when we did our bridal line. I don't think anyone wanted to be in a wedding dress in the snow. I'm sorry. So it ain't happening. So let's try to do it with an AI generated background. Now, what I would like to see happen is some requirements legal or by major corporations like Amazon, Etsy, etc., to say that we just need to put a hashtag in there saying background is AI generated. That's transparency and that's ethical. Yep. Yeah. And I think that's really what needs to happen. I think we are definitely in the heavy beginning days where this scary stuff can happen, but also it's a time to learn how to do tools. And if you want it to be ethical, put, just a little tag in a listing in the corner, background AI generated. It means at least you're trying, and then you can stay true to yourself.
Clients appreciate too. I think you are to your point. Like if you do that, they see you as a innovative. You are a little on a like updated one. You are a updated version than those who are not using it. And disclaimer definitely helps.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I mean, we all talk about using AI as a tool, and it can help and it can hurt. But with the right intent, with the right intelligence and everything, then we can use it as tools. But what both of you were talking about kind of brings us to our next question about the ethical implications of using AI. So you were talking about creating a generated background, but when we talk about how we present ourselves online, that's the information that AI is using to create these questions and these answers about how we talk to other people. So I'm going to start with you, Ashley, because I know we talked about this before. So what can be some of the ethical implications from using consumer data when we talk about AI?
So yeah, we did talk about this a little bit, but it's kind of in line with what I was saying before, just in a different caveat, is every time any one of us uses AI, we're giving it information. We're feeding it data, no matter what you ask it. It knows who you are, it knows where you are, it knows your IP address, it knows all those things, right? And it's using that as data to feed that information to somebody else. So, on our end of the spectrum, when we're trying to learn about our clients, as you said, you like to get to know your clients, your customers, your people who like to buy your products or use your services, you can use AI to analyze that data, but how accurate is that? And how ethical is that? And then that brings in privacy concerns. What privacy do we have? And if I am using AI to learn more about my customers, how am I potentially violating their privacy by looking at that data or using that data to send them the right messages? And that opens up a whole nother can of worms when it comes to marketing and the use of AI, right? But it's a conversation. It's a big conversation because we all want to protect our privacy. We all want to protect our very important vital information, but we also want to use that information to help grow our companies at the same time. So, what pieces of that information is important? What part does AI play in that? And how ethical is it really, right? That's a big piece of that conversation, and I know that you had a lot of insight on this when we were talking earlier.
Yeah, I do. I do. So first of all, I don't think AI should ever be used in a situation where you're not dealing with information that isn't publicly available. I think that has to be the bottom line. I think going and doing any kind of sneaking around or finding anything that is not publicly available and trying to use that, that's immoral, in my opinion. But if it is publicly available, we have to face the fact that most of us lead lives that if you look at what information about ourselves is publicly available, we would probably be shocked about what the rest of the world would know. Have you ever come across a picture of yourself, for example, and it's like, when was that picture taken? And it's like, holy crap. Um, that information is out there, and it can be assembled in many different ways, but it can also be done in safe ways. So, for example, there's a company called Rapleaf in San Francisco, and they are a big favorite of big brands. And what Rapleaf does is that it aggregates all this publicly available consumer information. But what they do is that they act as a medium point between the brand and the consumer. So they don't let the consumer know what brand is asking, but they also don't let the brand know who the consumer is, but they will give the consumer profile. And that allows them, the brands, to do better planning. So that's a way in which AI could be used in a more constructive manner. That's how I think we're going to see AI used more in the future. I tend not to be a nihilist about it. I tend to believe that there's a more hopeful side for this because there are so many constructive ways in which this can be done.
Are you saying that there's a photo out there of Stuart that we might not want to look at?
There's at least two.
So I may not be too updated on this, but I just thought while we were just listening, so just something came to my mind. I think ethical, keeping the ethics a priority because ethics is something builds your reputation in a brand. So as a single solo entity, my brand is very important. So ethics is very important. Now using AI as a single entity, if you use it, so in my scenario, like I do two things right now: finance for and then real estate, right? So for finance, I heavily want to use data which is already there in a public domain. So there is a SaaS technology which basically make you a graphical analytical. Like for example, when that lady I met and I wanted to go back and check my computer, how come this lady had no idea what's going on? Like how come she lost a home? Like that was something too new to me. I was so cocoon. So when I started checking using a SaaS technology, the data from the public domain basically graphically showed me that every third American will go through this. Every second America go through. I was like, holy cow, how can that happen? So that's a, like alarming thing. That is before AI. Now talking about AI, you plug that data into AI, AI will tell you how exactly that close. Like for example, Spanish, like COVID happened, right? 2020. Go back 100 years ago. How many people thought about 100 years ago we had a Spanish flu 1920, correct? So, so this basically in fashion, the only thing I remember from fashion was the history repeats. We follow fashion and we repeat, we replicate, we instigate, we incubate, and then we wait for the maturity, and that how the masses get the fashion. But in the same replication happens in all the industry. Only thing is in all the industries, I think there is no one personally in my case, I like real estate again. No one is talking about it. Like people just go with the realtors talking about or some infatuation because their neighbor bought it or he bought it, she bought it. But they don't correlate that far. But you can clearly see using that data from the past, knowing if Spanish flu happened in 2020, 1920 and 2020, 1929 the big recession came. How many people were ready that time? How is the market going right now? What inflation we had that time? What inflation we are sitting today? Using AI in a conducive, in a productive manner, we can get ourselves ready. We don't need to wait for someone to tell us. We can use available tools to get ourselves ready, our family ready. That's how I feel. So you're saying using AI to find trends and data and analyze it. Get ready. I'm not a judge. I don't want that could be authentic. AI is AI. But if without AI, the SaaS can predict, and that's something even companies like AIG, Athene, Etna, they are using to put on their website, like every third American will go through this, second go through this, then AIG can be accurate too, you know?
Yeah, I think that's all really really good. So I know that there are some solopreneurs, maybe partnerships that are out there. So with us trying to create this content that's super authentic, how do we kind of stay away from burnout, from trying to be so authentic, from trying to show our true selves online, and also, running our businesses, creating the items that we're doing, running the services, all those things. So how do we shield ourselves, I think, a little bit from burnout?
I'm going to jump in on this one. So pace yourself and learn yourself as well as you can, and then be aware when you're changing. That would be the three things because burnout to me is just part of it. I'm super passionate. I've been burnt out many a time. I heal. People on my team will run into it. They flag it. We try to let them heal. I can't and they can't escape it, no matter how much we've tried. And some people I've been with, for 5 years. So this is just life. We keep working on it, we keep trying, but we don't escape it. So instead, we pace, we communicate, we try to be aware when not to give our all and give like 80%, and then we move on. Anyways, I have to go to a different panel over in the leadership about mental health. So you guys, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Good job.
See you later.
I'm going to just piggyback on top of that and say that I think the way you prevent burnout is to follow the trends that are happening right now. And if you look at what Gen Z is gravitating towards, it's towards community. It's towards achieving a larger sense of the whole. So I think if you're going towards burnout, incorporate others into what you're doing and build your own community, because then you have a larger machine, you have a group of commonly interested people working on the content. And quite honestly, I think that's going to be more attractive in the future.
Very much so. I'm going to jump on that because our team, i- I'm surrounded by a fantastic team, and we have witnessed people on our team experience the burnout and in different forms, in different ways. And whether you are working on your own or you're working with a team of people, it is truly important. The woman on the panel right before us spoke about it, taking breaks. Taking breaks, step away from the computer. I did a presentation for our team one random meeting day, and it was about set a timer, right? Sit at your computer, set your timer, say, okay, I'm going to focus and work on this specific set of things for an hour. And I know that might not be realistic for everybody, depending on what your company looks like, how it operates, what role you play. But give yourself 10 minutes away from that computer. Give yourself 7 minutes off your phone. Do not look at any device. Give yourself that break. And then when you're doing it, set an example for your people. If you're a leader in your company, if you're a leader of people that are working for you or with you, use yourself as an example and then encourage them to do that. And like I said, we've experienced employees with burnout. Be supportive, right? Give them the time they need to relax that mental health, flex that muscle, come back to who they are, remember why they're doing the job that they're doing, because everybody wants to love what they do. And you can encourage that in your team if you encourage them to take the breaks, recognize when they are burnt out, and take the necessary steps to take care of themselves. And the best way you can do that is by leading by example and doing it yourself. If you're doing it, everybody else in your company is going to be encouraged to do it too.
And I think that really speaks to the authenticity, right? Like burnout is real. We've all been burnt out. And sometimes, you have to make that content, make the video about being burnt out. Like, listen, I'm exhausted right now. All right, we got about 5 minutes. I'm exhausted right now, and here's what I'm doing to kind of help with that burnout. And I think that yeah, the transparency, the authenticity of that, I think it will go a long way with your staff, with your clients, with potential clients, with people that you're trying to reach. I think it'll definitely go a long way.
Do
Yeah,
we have any questions for the panel?
yeah.
We are.
Yeah, so her question, in case you didn't hear, was are there any companies that are measuring um, the ethical implications of AI, either on the vendor side or on the consumer side?
Yeah, we create content for over 100 businesses across the country. Some are very large businesses, some are very small businesses. We have $100 million producers on our client list, and then we've got the $100,000 guy, right? And no matter what, our content has to be authentic for them. Who can write 300 blogs in a month? Right? You can't even get a team of people to write really good content at that level, right? So we do use AI, but we are very specific with how we use it. We've actually tested out multiple different AI tools to find which one can actually support the work that our team is doing. And we've made a list of how to use them. We've taken different training courses. We've conducted trainings with our team on, hey, this is what has worked the best to produce the most engaging and authentic content for this client. And we're very specific about what we write for who we're writing it for. So, to answer your question, I don't know of any other companies that are pioneering that and publicly pioneering that. I think that's one of the biggest factors that's missing is that if there are large companies out there doing it, they're not publicly speaking about it to pioneer that path. I think that AI is so new that people are a little bit timid to do that. And maybe they're not quite sure exactly how to do it. So they're tiptoeing it. But finding what works for you and your voice and how you're using it is going to be the best way to move forward with that. And then encouraging those around you to do the same.
Right. But I'm going to piggyback on that. 2 months ago, I attended a webinar that had 120 CEOs across the United States talking about what their AI strategies were. And every single one of those companies is putting things into practice. What's happening is that AI is moving so fast that every time they feel they have a point to start, it moves. So this
Sounds
is
like social media too.
it's like social media. It is. And so this is one of the things that really kind of freaks them out because it's happening much faster than they're actually able to react. But there is intent to be able to put those safeguards in place.
Are there any other questions for us up here?
I guess we covered all those topics pretty well then, huh?
We did, yeah.
Boy, we're
Thank
good.
you. Thank you so much, panel. You guys were great. Big round of applause. All right, thank you, panel. We're going to keep this party going. Let's just push on through. Thank you, panelists, for sharing your knowledge of the subject. Today, we're tackling a topic that's become quite the conversation piece in advertising, pink washing. It's when companies wear a rainbow badge, so to speak, signaling support for the LGBTQ community, but sometimes without much substance behind the gesture. So now we have experts here with us who will help strip back those layers, challenge the fluff, and get real about making an impact. Get ready for an eye-opening discussion that will challenge perceptions and inspire action. Please welcome on stage Joshua David. Joshua, where are you at? You mic'd up? Joshua in the house? No, Josh? Okay. Let's see. Our next subject is fireside chat. Advertisers, it's time to stop pinkwashing and make a real impact. We have speakers today. Joshua David, are you in the house? Joshua? What about Palak Jindal? Are you in the house? Come on up. Did you get mic'd up? And then we also have Ashley Calderon. Get mic'd up. You guys are going to teach us about this new subject.
1, 2.
Fireside chat. Advertisers, it's time to stop pinkwashing and make a real impact. Coming to the stage. No Joshua David, but we have Palak Jindal and Ashley Calderon. Palak works for the Kelly School of Business at Indiana University. Ashley Calderon is the sole proprietor of the Golden Lotus.
Just waiting. 1, 2. 1, 2.
Are we ready? Yeah, come on up, guys. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Come on. Okay, so Ashley's running late and Joshua's not here, so okay. Thank you. All right, guys, without any further ado, these two speakers, come on up, guys.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, feel free to get learned.
Okay. Does my mic work? Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hello. Okay, well, since I've already introduced myself once for the fireside chat, I'm happy to moderate this one. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
So, my name is Palak Jindal. I'm a student at Kelly School of Business at Indiana University. I'm a senior and I'll be graduating this May.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
And tell us what does it mean when you hear pink washing
So,
as a
pink
topic?
washing basically it's when companies and marketers use rainbow colors during Pride months to support, like, to show that they're supporting LGBTQ communities and like genders, but then they do actions that is quite opposite to it. They're kind of pink washing it. That's what it means.
Which we've seen quite a bit in the past couple of years. So tell me, maybe let's give a couple examples of maybe some brands that have done that recently.
I think the biggest one that comes to my mind would be Bud Light. The
I would
controversy
say
they
so.
had with Dylan Mulvaney, and it was pretty big. And I think what these companies fail to understand is that maybe in the short term they do get profits out of this, but in the long term, as you were talking about authenticity and everything, it destroys the brand image much more than it helps them.
So, in that specific example for Bud Light, which I think we're all familiar with that, they lost a ton in their stock price from that, and their CMO ended up having to resign over it.
And they like made bunch of public apologies, and they have been like remedying that through different ad campaigns and stuff. So they not only lost stock, but they also had to put a ton of money back into, redefining their image, which is really sad. And their competitor Modelo,
Yeah.
like took over the entire market for them, which is I don't even like Modelo beers.
Yep. And Target at the same time did a very similar type of activity where they also put out some makeup, I believe, that also had issues
Yeah,
for
they did that. A lot of companies do it. Like even giants like YouTube does it. They show that they're supporting the community, the LGBTQ plus community, and then they practice in countries where they ban users like that. Uber does it.
Yep.
There's so many examples right now, and I mean, especially with Gen Z getting into the power, with most of the transactions made by Gen Z, we need to realize that these people care about what a brand says to them. So we need to start focusing our, like the advertisements and the company's thoughts towards them.
So I think there might be, if I'm hearing you correctly, there's kind of two issues at hand here. There's one where the advertiser is potentially trying to create something, a product or bringing something to market. And then there's another issue of maybe the influencer that is going a little bit off script. I know there was also the incident where there was a social media influencer that had an issue with makeup with L'Oreal, and it just went bananas, and it actually ended up helping L'Oreal in that case. But from an authenticity standpoint, it really eroded their brand equity. So maybe talk about a little bit of those two issues of from a brand standpoint, how do you stay authentic and how do you make sure that you're having a voice and not teetering too far away from that?
I think my response to that would be not every brand needs to like I don't believe that, but in a sense, not every brand needs to support every community and every cause. Pick your battles and stick to them. Just because someone you know is doing something, that doesn't mean you need to do it. Uh, what is your company about? What is it that you want the customers to see? Because every brand has a different perception, and you trying to like dabble a little bit in everything is just going to destroy you.
And then for the Budweiser example for Bud Light, in that specific case too, I believe they waited a very long time to actually make any organizational changes, and they supported the CMO and the VP for quite a bit of time. And then that ended up really eroding their brand equity so much more, and their market share substantially tanked from it. They were number one in the market, and then Bill Gates put money into what was it, Heineken, thinking that that was going to help too at the same time.
That is a really interesting example, honestly. I think that is also an extreme. Not every company who does pink washing goes through that.
Yep.
That was one thing that recently happened, and it like blasted away. Uh, but like even in general, just during Pride months, having your company logos in rainbow is not equality. It's not changing anything. If you want to make a change, then do it. Just don't like boast about it and then do nothing.
Yep. So let's talk about maybe for Pride Month then for a second. So brands that show up during Pride Month and are doing specific advertising or they're partnering with influencers on social media for Pride Month and then substantially pull back on any of that the next month and do almost a reverse. What have we seen? What does that do to the brand?
Um, I think um I think it's like a game of roulette. You have small wins.
Mm-hmm.
You get some new customers. They're like, okay, they're supporting me. I should buy from this brand. And then when it's time to take a substantial stance or do something, they back out. And maybe they lost a very loyal customer to them,
Right.
which will never come back. And it's like a generational thing. So if I have been hurt by a brand, I'm not going to tell my kids or anyone in my circle to go and use that brand. I
Right.
think it destroys their word of mouth credibility a lot.
Right. Right. And then I think on the flip side too, with Netflix had an issue recently too, where all of the employees stood up and tried to push away certain content because they also thought that that was an issue. And in that case, I believe Netflix said no, we're not gonna pull the content. It was comedy for Dave Chappelle, and they said no, we're not gonna pull the content. The content stays, and a lot of the employees almost left over it, and it was during Pride Month that that happened. Now, in that case, Netflix wasn't actually advertising. They weren't doing anything for Pride Month, but their actions, the employees felt like were going against what was happening. So it's a little different. It's an organizational issue, but it does bleed into PR and into other issues. So maybe if you can talk a little bit
I
about
think
that.
about that is that companies like Netflix or that are so much in the limelight that whatever they do can be turned into a controversy.
Yes.
And um, uh, I think in that case, you cannot, like, that's what I'm trying to say, that you cannot support every cause. And if
Yes.
that's something that Netflix wants to do, then okay, fine. Um, the employees have the right to, leave over it. And it also goes into how you structure your company, what kind of employees
Yes.
you're hiring. Um, and so if it wants to hire creatives who are in the LGBTQ plus community, then it should be aware of that and take actions according to it.
So if a brand wanted to get involved, if they wanted to have a social cause to back, but if I'm hearing you correct, let's not be everything to everybody across every brand because you lose authenticity and you potentially diminish your brand in the process. Then what would you say are the ways that they should go about determining which ones to go after?
Um, I think it goes into the company's mission statement. What is their next 5-year plans? What is it that, I mean, it also depends on the kind of product you're launching or the service you're launching.
Mm-hmm.
So in the example of Bud Light, it could have had a very successful next 10 years of its life without having Mulvaney do an influencer post, because that's not its target audience.
Right.
And so I think it comes down to understanding what you want and what does the customer want, and then I think also it also depends on the kind of people who are in power, who are making the decisions. So making sure that someone who's diplomatic and understands all facets before making a decision would be like the right course to go on it, I guess.
Yeah, it gets difficult because some of these situations become canaries in the coal mine, where it's something very small and then it turns out to be something very big. I mean, actually, the Bud Light situation is a good example of that, where it was not in every single store. It was not major. It was actually an influencer, and they made one six pack, and that was it. And that one six pack turned into $1 billion problem for them. I mean, I laugh, but it really was $1 billion problem for them, and it continues to still be. And I know that brands today, um, my company, we do a lot of work with them where we are continuously pressure testing how much do you push the boundaries? Because in today's world, you can't just, you want to let the creative be the creative and lead it, and you don't want to stifle the creativity. And in a lot of cases, you're trying to break through the clutter of, and so and you're trying to get a message across. We were doing work for a pharma company recently, and they wanted to push something for breast cancer, and they wanted to show women in being really empowered, and they wanted to show on a mass ad women that had gotten mastectomies during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And that was supposed to be a very empowering thing. And that is pushing the boundaries, and that was a very powerful message that was coming across. But at the same time, that could easily, right, wrong time, just wrong person, wrong time that has 1 million followers, and you are screwed. And so you have to also, there's a balance as a company. Are you willing to really make that bet? And are you willing to really stand behind that? And sometimes
Yeah,
it can be very small, like a six pack.
I think it's a calculated risk. And I mean, obviously, we have so much data at this point and analysts who figure these things out. But uh, I think it goes beyond numbers and data points. You need to realize what the current trends in the society are. And
Yeah.
while you piggyback off of it, you also need to understand that um, your own statement, your own company should not change. Like, for example, there's this brand called Sanzo. They make sparkling water,
Uh huh.
and they have this huge that they're Asian American with their flavors, with their branding, with their packaging, and everything. And imagine if that just tomorrow they're like, okay, now we support African American communities. They might get a few people to join them, but they would
Right.
lose a huge share of the market that they have already established. So going on to trends and trying new things, that's amazing, and every company should do that because that's innovation and that's what we are here for. But also knowing that not um, also knowing that where to draw the line. I
Yes.
think that comes to a very personal decision, and I think you should know when to draw the line.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it becomes really tricky because inherently these brands, and I'll just pick on the really big brands, right, for a minute. Um, they have quarterly earnings. They have to hit quarterly numbers, and that's the name of the game. And so if they're trying to find a way to resonate more, and the way to resonate is through potentially social justice causes, that could be good. However, that can also feel very inauthentic because you are actually at the end of the day selling a product to them because you have to make a quarterly earning. Now the employees might be doing it for the right reasons, but the reality is I think today people sniff through that a lot. During COVID, there was such a focus on social justice causes, and rightfully so. However, I think the brands wanted to listen to their employees. They wanted to try to take on these social causes because their employees cared about these social causes. But there is a difference, I think, between the employee and the person and the brand itself. And the brand is there to monetize the brand and to generate revenue. And if you're generating revenue through a social cause, you have to be very careful about that because you are not a nonprofit at the end of the day.
I agree with you, but I also feel that this is a more long-term thing. When you plan a company, you don't think that, okay, I'm going to run it for 5 years and then it's over.
Right.
It's like a perpetual existence. And
We
so
would all love to be retired in 5 years, though, I think.
hey, I haven't even started. I still have to graduate.
Hey, you got a 5 year plan, so you can start now.
Fair enough. um, but these pink washing, the problem with pink washing is that you're pretending to support a cause and not actually making a difference.
Right.
And what employees and customers and everyone want is that If you are supporting a cause, then take action, because these companies do have the
Hmm.
money to make a change. And that is where it all boils down to, that are they willing to act on it or not?
Yes, yes, yes. And I think, the last panel that was talking about authenticity, I think it really plays into this quite well too, because I also think a big part of what you're talking about for pink washing too, especially with these large companies, they have employee organizations within the companies. And so they have diversity, they have DEI programs where, it can be anything from I mean, I remember I was in the women's and analytics program, and you have to foster other groups. But if that doesn't actually lead to anything and lead to change, and then they're putting out content in the same way, it potentially starts to erode a brand for what it is meant to be and what its voice is supposed to be in the marketplace. Because ultimately, the voice in the marketplace is X, Y, and Z, right? Like they have an archetype, they have a value proposition, they're supposed to go to market a certain way, and they should have a strategy for that. And the reality is, these things should either align to that and drive the social cause that supports that. Um, because if you start being too much to too many things, you're fractionalized.
True. And also, I think it goes beyond just one community. If, for instance, I'm going to talk about H&M for a second. They are like the leader in fast fashion, and they create like tons and tons of waste and
I know the
everything.
store here shut down. I was very sad when I walked by it earlier.
And at the same time, they're producing chemicals and everything. They have a sustainability department in their company. They're printing it out in their quarterly reports and in their annual reports and everything. The problem is that if you think that the consumer is stupid and that you just trying to put fancy words in it and make your logo green, then it's not going to help you in the long run. It is going to erode your image to the extent that people do not trust anything you put out. And then it ripples down. It goes from, okay, they're not sustainable. Maybe they're lying about the quality they use. Maybe the product is not good. And it all comes down to the product and the money. And then they're not willing to pay what you're asking them to.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yeah. There's another brand which I will not. I'll. I'll. I won't say the name of it to keep the innocent. Well, I don't know how innocent, but um, they they were known for having um, bad plastics for their water bottles, and then they recently had to completely rebrand themselves into a different name and a different and go to market completely differently, because it started to become so the undercurrent of it online was so much. And the problem today with social media, to your point, is that you can't control that. Once that is out, and especially for Gen Z and the social media, it's out, and it spreads like wildfire. On TikTok, it's just like it goes, and you in trouble.
I mean, it's a great thing. I am a huge supporter of social media because I'm 21 and I don't know the consequences of it. But uh,
Well, you don't know a world without it.
exactly, I've had a phone since I was in sixth grade, and
Yeah,
I've used it all my
it's
life.
crazy.
I wouldn't have friends if I didn't have social media. but
It's crazy, yeah. It's a different world.
but the thing is that you cannot change it now. Going in, like in the future, social media is not going anywhere,
Yeah.
and neither are the companies. So the only way to deal with this is to coexist and to take benefit of a resource you have and understand the risks of it.
So, would you say, as I'll just ask you as a younger generation for this, I'll pick on you for a second, but would you say that your generation um, is doing research into the brands and the social causes? Because at that age, you said you're 21. So at that age for 21, you are developing your loyalties to brands right now. You haven't some brands I would say you might say that you've developed some loyalties to, but others you're probably still shopping around to figure out which ones you want to be loyal to.
So in that, I know like when I was 21, it was probably cost and quality of the product. But would you say that you're also looking into social causes and authenticity of the brands?
Definitely. I think the thing with my generation is that we were brought into a world where we had overwhelming amount of options. Like
Hmm.
we have not known a world without options. If you go to a supermarket, there's like 17 different kinds of water, and in that world, where do you differentiate? What's the differentiating factor? Because they all provide you quality. They're all some kind of prices and like it's within the range.
Right.
So I think at that point, that is what we're looking for. That okay, there's 17 kinds of bottle, but this one, it uses sustainable measures. It uses good plastic. So let's do with this one.
So how would you say you and your friends are looking at that? Are you researching it ahead of time?
Definitely. Also, it's a lot of influencer marketing. If I
Influencer
see,
marketing.
if I see influencer like, okay, yeah, it's the thing is that our word of mouth is on one platform. If you have TikTok, then everything you present on TikTok, the brand presence on TikTok, we're not.
TikTok is king, guys. You need to be on TikTok.
So it's the thing it boils down to is that if we think the influencer the brand picked
Hmm.
is credible, then we'll believe the brand is credible because we'll believe that the influencer did its research. Do you see what I'm?
Yes. And then what about industries? So let's take it from a brand and look to an industry now. So how do you feel about, are you thinking that some industries are authentic or inauthentic based on this idea of pink washing?
Definitely. Like, I think the biggest industry that comes to mind about this is agriculture, and like how there was a huge shift towards farmers market and
Yes.
family farming, organic products. Soon there will be a bigger shift to brands who do justice to their social causes. And I think that is going to happen very soon because, as I said, we do not have any more differentiating factors left. So, where do you, like, when you go to a supermarket, what makes you pick one product instead of the other off the shelf? And that is where the brand's social causes comes in, I think, for our generation.
So it's more so even than price or value of the product is social cause?
I don't think so because price is always going to be there.
Price is king.
Price is king. But after that, I think it's a close second or third.
Mm,
How we perceive the brand, and I think these social causes they play a major role in our perception of the brand.
interesting. Any questions from anybody?
Yes.
That's a great question. Right. Where's the line? Hmm.
It would be pink washing if you celebrate Women's History Month and do not hire any female employee, or if you celebrate Black History Month and then uh, pay your African American employees less than your American employees. So that's where the line is. That's the point that if you're supporting a cause, if you're supporting a community, great. Every brand should do that. But then don't take actions that are starkly opposite to what you're supporting.
Did you have a question? Ooh. cancel culture. So if cancel culture happens to a brand for Gen Z, um, does the brand ever get uncanceled?
Um, I mean, nothing is impossible. It's
But
hard.
it sounds real hard.
But it is hard. I think a good example for that would be Crocs. During the 2010s time, it took a huge hit. No one wanted to wear them. They were like weird, and then Crocs did a whole 360, like embrace your weird. Essentially, at that time, they did get cancelled in a way, not on social media, but they basically had to revise their entire brand image. So yes, it is possible. But I think if you're taking something away from this talk, it's that don't let it come to the point of getting into cancel culture, uh, because prevention is better than cure. And just try to be. It, it's not, I mean, I don't have a company, so it's easy for me to say this, but it's not that hard to stay true to a cause. You don't have to funnel millions of dollars into it, but if you are saying, just don't do actions that are, opposite of what you're trying to sell.
So if you believe in something and you practice it and you are hiring employees for it and you are focused on it, you should authentically celebrate that about who
Exactly.
you are,
Yeah,
but don't do something outside of that that
exactly.
is different.
Yeah.
Um, as for cancel culture, going back to that for a second, I think there's different parts of cancel culture too, especially for Gen Z, because I do see some influencers on TikTok. I'll just stick to that example for a second, that did get canceled and then somehow came back and now have just as many or even more followers than they did before. So I have seen Gen Z forgive and potentially even grow a base. I think in some cases it's about letting the fire die down a bit and just being quiet about it and letting it burn out. But also, there seems to be a fine line, and I, I'm not the one that has the answer to this, but there seems to be a fine line between apologetic and quiet. Um, Obviously, there needs to be apologies for whatever it is, but too apologetic in some cases seems to actually fuel cancel culture to some extent. And there is, to some extent, like you have to just quiet down the fire. I don't know what your perspective is because I do think some of that is flamed on TikTok and how the algorithm works and how it just you can just start seeing cancel culture just permeate, and then the problem with that becomes you think that that is so much larger a conversation out there in the real world than it actually is.
Definitely. I think my generation loves controversy. I think everyone loves controversy. And so when someone gets cancelled and they are profusely apologizing for it, people like to see that. People like to see powerful people on their
Mm,
knees, apologizing, begging.
interesting.
And so that is why it keeps on going. The wave
Mm.
never dies down. But as you
It's
said,
like an adjustment of power.
yeah, exactly. It's the adjustment of power. And like if you're seeing someone on your screen every day living their best life, you're like,
You want to tamper that down a
you
little
want to
bit.
tamper that down. You want to like, okay, I'm not happy, why is this person happy?
Interesting.
And so um sorry, what was the point?
No, no. So with cancel culture, you're saying that the that your generation doesn't like seeing that type of power being held, and if it feels like they have the power incorrectly, then and if maybe their apology is not authentic, it almost fuels the cancel culture even more to just like anchor and pull that down even
Yeah,
quicker.
definitely. And it's also, I think, the thing with influencers and social media is that they hold a power over us which is very unconscious. If I'm opening my
Mm-hmm.
phone and I'm giving time to this person, I'm not doing it out of because I love this person, I'm doing it out of habit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so when something like this happens, there's a break in that habit and it comes off more potent than it would in any other
Mm-hmm.
instance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and I think also my generation understands that everyone makes mistakes, and that's why we're like so eager to forgive and move on, because God knows we're making a lot of mistakes and everyone is going to die. Just kidding. But that's the reason that if you're out there and you're like, okay, my bad, we're gonna fix this, but then and actually fix it,
Yeah,
it's water under the bed.
got it. Any other questions? No. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Jip, jip. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Yeah,
Thank you,
of
ladies.
course.
Awesome. We're at the end of the night, and we have one more fun thing, and a lot of you guys are walking away with awards right now. You know who you are. So let's go ahead and get that started. Who's helping me pass out awards today? Is Dr. Luis Debrensny? Hi. Why don't you come on up, help us give out some awards. We just want to remind you again that it's been an exhilarating day one at the Marketing 2.0 conference. Thank you, everybody. You listened to a lot of speakers today. We learned a lot. Go ahead and come on up. We want to remind you that we will be in Dubai in 2024 and back here in Las Vegas in 2025. If you need to book, get a hold of Jatin Sidhu or Shabit Behal, or visit the booth to the next registration. Next to the registration guest. As we wind down, don't forget to keep the conversation alive by tagging us on Marketing2Conf in your stories and posts. Together, let's continue to spark inspiration and innovation as you move on to network with the best of your space. I am Sean Paul Johnson. Thank you for letting me brighten your day. Our recipients of our awards for Marketing 2.0 Conference Outstanding Leadership Awards. First one goes to Ashley Calderon. Did she make it in? Ashley did not make it in. All right, we're going to save her award for her later. Next, I have Mayank Ramesh Mehta, the owner of Mifet Enterprises, also known as Balanced Chemistry. Are you in the house? Come on up and get your award. Would you like to say a few words?
I was not prepared for this, but thank you very much. So basically, when I got to know that you get an award for an organization, so I would like to devote this to the entire team because it's not just my effort. It's the complete team who has put in a hard work, and that's the reason we are able to do business in two countries, in India and America. And thank you to my family and all the friends, new and the old. Thank you very much. Bye.
Next up to receive this reward, Nexus 6 will be accepted by Dave Mackin. Nexus 6, founded by Dave Mackin, specializes in crafting digital marketing strategies with a strong focus on delivering a return on investment. The company's mission is to unite people through technology, leveraging both effective digital marketing and robust communications infrastructure to achieve this goal. This man is also hecka charismatic. Yeah, he's going to give the mic back. I'm going to time him on this one. All right, moving on. Enrique Carrillo. Where you at, Enrique? All right. Enrique Carrillo, EMBA, is the director of Midwest Customer Growth and Strategy Acature Song. He excels in driving organizational transformation and improvement, overseeing the design and development of innovative solutions to meet business and industry needs, and leading the delivery of new product offerings and capabilities. Would you like to say a word?
How's everybody doing? All right, so I'm standing between you and I guess reception drinks. So I want to make sure that we get there on time. That's the important part. I just want to do a little bit of a advertisement, right? So Accenture Song, for some of you that don't know, is kind of like the new baby of Accenture. Is the largest technology-based creative ad agency in the world. We do cool stuff like Super Bowl commercials, all the way through all the cool websites that you see out there. We are, as you know, at Accenture, 770,000 strong. So I definitely don't take this as my award. I take this as the award of the entire team. Definitely me. We've been having the responsibility for the Midwest now. It's a proud moment, and there's been a lot of people coaching me along the way to get here. So thank you very much, all, and enjoy the conference.
Coming to the stage, our next recipient, Ivan Iniguez. Are you here, Ivan? Hello. Ivan Iniguez is the CEO and founder of the Neuro Copywriter. His passion for business and how the body works led him to self-study marketing and science in 2018. He currently works for a company as a copywriting coach and helps some clients as a marketing strategist manager. And his original passion for fitness led him to create his own business in 2022. Fitness-tastic. Would you like to say a word?
I was trying to get away without this, but okay. So everything I can say is just that, no, sounds cliche at this point, but we all need to kind of always remind ourselves why we're doing what we're doing, whether we're working on an agency, whether we are, just solopreneur or whatever we're doing. It's just a matter of keep working, and sooner or later, everything pays off. Thanks.
Our next recipient of this gorgeous award, Kate Pivacek. Are you in the house today? Where's Kate? No Kate today. Next up, we have where's Julie Porter? Julie Porter's in the house today. You're getting an award. Come on to the stage, Julie. Julie Porter is the chief rocker at Front Porch Marketing. Julie's career, spanning over 25 years, exemplifies a remarkable journey in the dynamic world of brand strategy and leadership. Prior to starting Front Porch Marketing, Julie had made a name for herself working at various renowned marketing agencies, both large and small. Congratulations, Julie. Julie ran from the mic. Y'all are getting smart. Coming to the stage, where's Kellyanne Fidio? Hi, Kellyanne. As Director of Client Services at Satellite Teams, Kellyanne Fidio exemplifies visionary leadership, strategic acumen, and a commitment to business innovation by connecting companies with the best global talent. Kellyanne's unique entrepreneurial journey started with her success in law, founding exiting a seven-figure company and now leading Satellite Team's mission. She helps companies with every facet of remote global talent acquisition. She looks like she wants to say a word.
God bless you all for staying here to the very end and letting us receive these awards. I am honored. I've met so many wonderful people, and the content has been incredible. And I am lucky enough to have lived my dream life while raising two beautiful daughters, being an entrepreneur, being a recovering attorney, and helping other people build their most extraordinary life, and now working for a company called Satellite Teams, helping to connect people around the world, making it truly borderless with the most amazing minds. And it's just been an incredible journey. So thank you.
Coming to the stage, our next recipient, Sonam Jain. I'm sorry, you're not next. Nicola Middleton, you're next. Sorry, I skipped a line. Come on, Nicola. Nicola Middleton is the founder and president of God Brands. With her finance degree, Nicola started out in merchant banking and quickly chose to enter the entrepreneurial field, where she got involved in a number of business and industries over the years. Would you like to say a word?
you. I'm just going to quickly put this down here. I just want to say thank you to all of you, and thank you very much to Marketing 2.0. For me, it's, you know, we have passion and we give our gifts away, and it is really important to be recognized and to be honored. So I'm very happy that Marketing 2.0 found me on LinkedIn. I've been with them in Dubai and been here and met the amazing people, and I just really want to pay respect. You know, when we do this work, whatever it is that we do, it's often selfless, and I believe it needs to be selfless because that's what makes it pure. But then we also need to be the human family that says, well done, gives a thumbs up, and just encourages one another. So thank you for that being given to me, and thank you to all of you, and again, thank you to Marketing 2.0.
Coming to the stage, I lied to you once already today. Sonam Jain, come get your award. You were so patient. Thank you. This woman is a visionary marketer with 11 years of experience. Her journey from being a product consultant to a product marketing leader at Apti. The leading digital adoption platform is marked by innovation and impact. Her crowning achievement includes establishing a 16-category product market fit North Star, opening her growth avenues for enterprise C organizations.
Hi, everyone. I'm so grateful right now. Oh my God, my husband is recording me. And my 3-year-old daughter is looking at me. I want to take a moment here to say that I was never a marketeer, I was a consultant. And standing here receiving this outstanding leadership award in marketing is so surreal. So thank you, Marketing 2.0, for this honor. And I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you, everyone.
You heard him talk today. Our last recipient gave great speeches and dropped the knowledge. His name is Carlos Vargas. Where are you at, Carlos? Come on down, my man. Founder and digital architect of Bezalel Digital, is an accomplished enterprise architect and a certified executive and leadership coach, committed to mentoring and empowering the next generation of leaders. Notably recognized as one of the 22 Microsoft Masters for Email and Certified Funnel Hacker, Carlos's expertise spans official sectors including telecom, financial services, and retail, serving both Furniture 500 companies and small business alike. One more round of applause for our final recipient tonight.
I'm between everything and that we go and celebrate. So all that I will say, go and be great.
Let's give a big round of applause for everybody that was here today. Great speakers, great rewards, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. I'll be wearing a different suit, and I probably won't have better jokes, but we'll see you anyway, guys. Have a fun night. Get home, back to your hotel very safely. What's that? Networking reception right now? Where's that going on at? Networking reception going on in the ballroom. I believe it's